Okay, and where did it go?
Sweetie, it will.
If only the world we're living in is getting smaller and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Hey, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
In a sluggish economy, inflation and recession hits the land of the free. Standing on employment lines, blame the government for hard times. We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. 10 kids in a Cadillac stand in line for welfare checks. Let's all reach off the state. Gee, the money's really great. We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Soup lines, free loaves of bread, 5-pound blocks of cheese, bags of groceries. Social security has run out on you and me. We do whatever we can. Gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Doobity-doo wop wop, say what, yeah? We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Soup lines, free loaves of bread, 5-pound blocks of cheese, bags of groceries. Social security has run out on you and me. We do whatever we can. Gotta duck when the shit hits the fan.
You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest. Well, that's bullshit.
Shut up, rent-a-cop.
Nice.
Hello, all, and welcome. Here with Denise Stevens. She's back again, and we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. Charlie's also with me, for those of you that have been asking. She's with me for the next couple days, so she's enjoying a peanut butter Kong at the moment. But we may or may not be joined by Matt Geiger here in a bit, which he's got some interesting insights into what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to span a few different things, but it will kind of revolve around the Kennedys. And with that, Denise, with all the recent drops and the new Kennedy information, was there anything in there that blew your mind?
You know, when the Kennedy thing dropped, I just happened to be in Reno. My parents haven't been on vacation in like a couple of years because my dad had a stroke, and so it was the easiest place for them to go to. And so we were at the movies, and I'm driving back to the hotel, and then it's like, oh my gosh, the Kennedy files dropped. So I'm like rushing back, going in there, like, it's just my head was all over the place because I didn't want to miss out. It was that fear of missing out. And so I was like at night, I was trying to thumb through, and I was seeing what people were posting, but then wasn't really finding the nuggets that I was hoping for. I have to be honest with you, I haven't been digging through the files. I dug through the files when we were in the JFK because there was a lot that had already been dropped in 2017 and just every year after that. And a lot of people were concentrating on Israel and the Demona project, which we had already done on the channel. So I thought, okay, well, that's not new. You know, that Israel and the whole thing with JFK, where when he was president, he had warned Israel about the nuclear weapons, which is actually kind of important, the whole thing with nuclear, because it might even tie into our topic today. And he was very adamant about this. Like, he did not want them to expand their program. In fact, he wanted it halted. And so he wanted to send people in there because Dimona was a nuclear plant in Israel. So David Ben-Gurion, he was the prime minister at the time. He was resistant. They went back and forth. And then Ben-Gurion slipped out. Somebody else came in, and and then next thing you know, Kennedy was assassinated. But I don't know that if they ever got clarity on that. And there was some ties to James Jesus Angleton. He was a counterintelligence agent, and he was involved in it all. And he, by the way, is a Skull and Bones member. So I'm like, once you see Skull and Bones, it's like they have, it's like the Masons. They're involved in this. I think that's something that a lot of people miss. Is like the occult is tied to these false flags, and JFK was a false flag, and it had all the signs of a false flag. And if you look at all the numbers of JFK, huh?
You mean the assassination was a false flag?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it was planned. Okay.
I know we discussed this, but yeah.
Yeah, and if you just go like I the other day I was on with Lewis, and the topic was like how to spot a false flag. Like, what are the elements? Okay, so one of the things that people can look out for are the numbers. Like, if you start seeing, like, even yesterday there was that that whole thing that happened at Florida State. First thing I saw was the number 6. There's like 6 people, and then 3:00 CNN, announces, and you just start looking at the numbers. Start looking at the time, like the timestamp when something happens, the date, addresses, how many people died in and so on and so on. And if you start seeing all these 6s, then chances are that you're onto something. It's like a puzzle piece. It may not be the whole answer, but like definitely look into the numbers. And if you go to the JFK assassination, the whole thing was filled with numbers. I mean, and not just numbers, but symbolism. It had an occult Masonic stamp on it. First of all, he was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963. So 11 plus 22 is 33. And 33 is like the 33 degrees of the Scottish Rite Freemasonry, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah,
they always do this 33. And a lot of times they do things to the power of 3, because the occult's into getting power that they perceive that they don't have, right? We get our power from God. They have to go out and get power doing all this silly stuff. And so we had the numbers. The assassination took place in Dallas, which was on the 33rd degree parallel. And Dealey Plaza, Dealey, the person that the plaza was named out, he was a Mason, a 33rd degree Mason. And
right.
If you just look at Dealey Plaza, it's like the compass and the square and compass. It has that shape. And then there were other buildings around there that, the Grand Lodges and whatnot. Like, there was this theme going on with that. And so, anyways, I don't know, I kind of got off course, but we were talking about JFK and the files. So I didn't see anything that jumped out at me as being new. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was like I said, the Demona project and ties to the Mossad and ties to Israel. It's like, okay, check. We already talked about that one. Okay, so what else is new? What was new that I started researching it, and I don't even know how this came about. But you know how a lot of times with Trump, you have to like pay attention to him because he gives you clues. He does double talk. He does. You might take something one way, but he means something else. Like, words can have double meaning. And so a lot of his clues and messages is this double meaning thing. So you have to like always be thinking about, well, what else could it be, right? So he was saying that he was going to release the JFK/RFK/MLK files. And that's a whole nother piece about those three tying together. I'm like, that's a whole nother show. I have 40, I kid you not, 40 different data points on how those three tie together. It's the same pattern over and over and over and over and over. So anyways, on JFK, most people, like, I don't know that most people have heard the story of how that day actually rolled out. Like, we know about the car, the limo that JFK was driving in with Jackie, and to be, depending on what your memory is, was there 4 people in the car or 6? He took the turn from Houston Street onto Elm, and then we see the Zapruder family. We see a few people in the background, and then we are told that Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK, right? That's been the story they've been pushing out, that the Warren Commission has been pushing out, and whatever. But
no one ever believed. Yeah.
No one believes it. And they know there was like another shooter, but no one has ever, like, hardly anybody ever talks about that day. Like, who was where? And there was this thing called Operation 40. It was these assassins, these highly trained assassins that came in on the sly that day. And there was like 5 or 6 different cars. And in each car, there was like 3 to 4 people. And they slid in real, like, they kind of blended in. This is in the timeline that JFK dies. Okay. And these assassins were like, they could pull a trigger, not a problem. They didn't care what world leader they were having to shoot. Okay. They were that well trained. And like I said, it was Operation 40, which was a CIA, like this was a whole CIA thing. And the CIA, honestly, and I was going to actually print it out, but I didn't. But what does that say?
Well, you can...
Totally agree with that. But the CIA was in the business of killing world leaders. Honestly, that's what they were doing. It wasn't just JFK. They were going into South America and like basically taking over these countries by assassinating the world leaders or swapping it out. Like they tried to do it in Cuba with Castro, but before Castro was the Bautista, and they were involved with that, and so on and so on. But they have seriously, this was how they were doing it. Assassins, CIA trained, and then, just in the business of taking over and then bringing people down and taking over it into their power, right? So anyways, one of the okay, so what they did, and I am going to actually, I want to do a live on this, like who went where and who was in the cars, how they did it, and then like who died afterwards, because there were even assassin teams to do the cleanup. Like this guy, he's going to talk, so we need to have him go down. Well, this guy's going to, there was the cleanup team, and then there were the shooters and so on. One of the shooters, okay, so the Chicago mob was involved with this. They're the ones that were told to get the shooters for Dallas, because before Dallas there was 2 other attempted assassinations on Kennedy. One was in Miami and one was in Chicago. And then the Chicago mobsters like Sam Giancana, they didn't want to have an assassination in their town, and they were already pissed at Kennedy because we talked about this before, how he was during the election of 1960, JFK and Nixon, and how JFK's father and his ties helped usher in JFK. It was like the closest race, I think, in history that he won despite his snitch, because of some backdoors deals that were going on. And so I think the Chicago mobsters felt a little like JFK should have been indebted to them. But when he got into office, him and Bobby started going after the mob, right? So anyways, Sam Giancana and this, Johnny Roselli and these, there was a bunch of mobster names. They hired these people. Okay, so one of the people, in fact, he was supposedly the one that did the kill shot. The front shot on Kennedy. Supposedly, it came from a man named James Files, or Jimmy Files was his code name. His real name was James Sutton, right? And if you think about his name, James File, didn't Trump say he was going to release the files? So what if it's Jimmy Files has now been talking? He's still alive. Okay. And he did an interview like, I don't even know.
Files from jail?
He is out of jail, but let me just tell you about Jimmy Files. I mean, this is what is going to jumpstart our talk up today. Okay, so I was like, what? So we have the assassin is still, he's out? What? So the story is that he comes in and he actually went to Dallas a few days before to scope it out. That's what they had to do. They had to scope out like what would be the best place to shoot, and he even changed out his gun and his bullets too, so that the bullets would penetrate, because some of these other bullets were known to ricochet, like hit and then go ricochet off. So he designed his bullet to actually penetrate the skin and the skull. And so he was up in the grassy knoll. Remember the big stink about the grassy knoll? There's a shooter. The people saw like smoke and fire in there. And I don't know if that was from his gun, because he had a special gun. But needless to say, he allegedly was the kill shot. Okay. And another guy had shot JFK in the neck with like a paralyzing agent. Because remember when JFK goes like this? So, and then there was another guy. So it was like boom, 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 like 3 shots, boom, 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 one here. And then, it gets here and hits in the back. It all kind of just happened in sequence because they wanted to triangulate the shot so that no one would know where it was coming from. You know what I'm saying? The echoes. So they had to do it like in a triangulation pattern. So getting back to Jimmy. So there's this, anybody can go look him up. He's on YouTube. I believe it was YouTube that I found it. His wife, she met him through like letter writing when he was in jail, and and then they wrote this book and telling everything. I always had this suspicion when the whole time I was doing JFK that, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also watch the one where he's got long hair, and then watch the one that just happened like 3 months ago, like 3 or 4 months ago, where he was being interviewed. Him and his wife were being interviewed. And when I was doing JFK, I think I told you, like, of all the deep dives I've ever done, that this one was by far the hardest. And it wasn't because, like the reading material was so difficult, is because the data was so confusing. Remember, some people thought there was 4 people in the cart. Internet says there was 6 people. There's just so much variety. It's like, how is our memories not aligning with what's on the internet? And why is there 2 Lee Harvey Oswald? And why is Jackie in one picture have her hair parted this way, and another one she's parted this way, and her dress looks yada yada yada? Okay.
Remember when we looked at all the different pictures, and there are photographs to substantiate both stories. So yeah,
exactly.
How did that happen? Yeah.
Well, okay, so we were doing JFK together, and what was so funny, I don't even know how this happened. We start doing the Montauk Project last summer. We did that series.
That was fun.
I always thought, I don't know how this is going to be, but somehow this Montauk Project is going to lead us right back over to JFK. I think the JFK, there's the effery that we're seeing is going to be due to that project. And when I say Montauk Project, I'm not necessarily saying Montauk, that because we know they were doing all that stuff at Camp Hero at the end of Long Island in the town of Montauk. This technology they were using at Montauk was being used in other places in America and even outside of America, doing the MK Ultra and all that. So I felt like James Files, he's like the key to all this. Because when he tells us, okay, I was shot here, and Sam Giancana and Trafficante, they were telling us to go here and here. And then when he gets to Dallas, he talks about going around with Lee Harvey Oswald to scope everything out. And I thought, what?
Yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald? Yeah, that's part of the story too. But anyways, the part that blew me away, he was telling his life story. And he grew up, I want to say he grew up in like Mississippi or Alabama area. I can't remember which state it was. And he said he was part of a Navy birthing program. And I was like, here we go. This is it. Because you know what that is, right? Those breeding programs they were doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he said he goes, I know who my mom is. I don't even know who my dad is, because they were inseminating the women. Okay. So he's like, I don't even know who my dad is. And then the interviewer asked him, they said, well, is your mom your mom? And he goes, I don't know. Like, she could just been a surrogate. He goes, I don't know. He goes, I just know that I was part of this Navy programming. And then they took me on a bus to Camp Hero at Montauk. And I thought, oh, here it is. This is it. So he was saying that when he went to Montauk, so he was basically one of the Montauk boys. Remember we talked about this? How they were getting all these, and was nearly all boys and white boys to begin with. I think towards the end of it, they started getting some girls and then maybe even some boys of color. But for the most part, they were white boys they were getting off the kidnapping, off the streets, getting them from group homes, orphanages. And so basically he was in a kind of like a group home setting. And then he said, they took us to Montauk. And he goes, and then I was trained to be an assassin. So it was the Manchurian Candidate, super soldier, Delta programming, assassin. They've created this. Our government did this. Our military. This is what they were doing. And so then he's an easy person. He goes, yep, told I was supposed to go to Dallas. It was JFK. Oh, well, like he had no attachment, no emotional attachment. And that's what they do. So then I was like, oh, okay. So was he involved in all this time travel stuff that we talked about and cloning? Like, what's going on? So all I knew is that he claims that he was part of the Montauk. And it wasn't like the interviewer even jumped at it. It was like a little fun fact. But for me, I thought, oh, well, this is it. And you know what? You know what was the quote that Kennedy said about he was going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces?
Scatter to the wind.
You know what I think he meant by that? Double meanings. Is that at Montauk, I think we talked about this in one of our lives, that they were bringing these kids in. And then some of these kids, the ones that they had to have some kind of a psychic or paranormal ability. And those that they identify that have these special abilities, the rest they discarded. They were the kids that ended up on those milk cartons. They would have them sit in a chair, a special, like they called it a trip chair. And they would put these like I've just watched the show Stranger Things. It is exactly what happened. They put
I'm on my third watch. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they put these electrodes on their head, which was connected to a Cray computer. And then that computer was connected to a main computer, and then eventually up to the Sage radar tower. Because when they were doing the Philadelphia experience, they needed so much power to get the time travel to
Well, they-
work, right?
Didn't they link up all those other ships to supply that power? Yeah,
Yes.
with all their generators. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they did in 1943. But when you fast forward to the 1983, when supposedly all this was going on, and you might say, well, 83, but JFK was killed in 63. It's like, correct. Remember the 20-year jumps?
Yeah.
43 to 63 to 83. They were sending people back in time. And not time is not linear. We've talked about that. Imagine, well, we can talk later about the theory about time travel, but
Can I interrupt you for 1 sec?
yeah.
Because I'm not sure if you heard, but it came from the White House, I believe. I don't know if it's directly attributed to Trump or not, but they made the statement: we have the technology to alter time and space.
Yep, they said that.
I thought of you immediately because they've been doing that for quite a while.
Mhm.
And I think there were a lot of mistakes were made, and a lot of what we see, these anomalies, are efforts to maintain the secret
And fix it.
and fix it. Yeah.
There's
I think
I put it on my channel. I want to say it was a week ago. There was this gentleman named Larry Solares. And by the way, one of my moderators, Donovan Hyder, and I have been actually working on this, and we're going to do a whole show on the technology that they had at Montauk and what they were doing, because he's found a lot of stuff, and I don't want to take his research away from him. So I just want to mention that more to come on that. But
like how the chair worked, or like other equipment.
The chair, and just there's some interviews that we have about people that were kind of like whistleblowers, and they were involved in it, and they were controllers and whatnot. But there was this one video that I had put up on the channel, and his name was Larry Solares, Solarz, and he was explaining how one of the things they were doing was they were cloning people. Okay, they were literally putting people in a water tank. Well, the first thing they would do was download their consciousness onto a computer, because basically our brains are like a computer. They would download everything, like memories and the whole consciousness, and then put it on a computer. Then they would physically clone the person. Okay. And then he said, while this process was going on, and while the clone was growing in the tank, that the soul had to go somewhere. Okay. Because you're creating a duplicate of yourself. And then, you've got the consciousness on the computer. And I think he said they would download the consciousness and then mind wipe the guy. He's just there's nothing in there for a while. And then he said that the souls would go up to the ceiling, and they would be encased in gold. It was so crazy. And I thought, oh my gosh.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. Okay. So then the clone would be born. And then
this was happening at Montauk.
For sure at Montauk. But like I said, it wasn't just Montauk. Montauk was where they started doing this stuff, because remember, Montauk is it's not really down the road, but it's an hour away from Brookhaven. And Brookhaven has the linear particle accelerator. Okay.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to do it. Brookhaven scientists are Project Paperclip scientists. They're the Nazi scientists.
Right.
They were working at Brookhaven on Long Island. And I guess there was some scrutiny coming down. People were starting to sniff them out. And so they didn't want to do the experiments there. So they went to Camp Hero, which was an abandoned military base. And so that no one was really looking at what was going on. And they were doing this, underground. And so, anyways, when after the clone would be born, they would transfer the consciousness into the clone. So he's now a carbon copy of the original, minus maybe one little piece. Like it was explained to me. Imagine a room full of blue Legos, and then one little piece is yellow. There's gonna be one little difference between the two, and sometimes it's in the eyes. Like the eyes just might look a little different. Okay.
But the
So
soul, just to clarify, there were some questions. You were talking about the soul of the subject, the person being cloned.
yes.
So, yeah, and the soul can't be occupying the body when this process is taking place, is what you're saying?
I guess what he was saying. Yeah.
Because the clone doesn't ever have a soul. They just have memories that are from this consciousness upload.
Yeah, and some people were saying that there's such a thing as a soul fracture, where you're like sharing souls,
sure.
but I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard of it.
Too.
Like imagine, they split your mic, and then there's 3 of you. Do you all share a soul? I don't know. I think it's a sign. God's the one that gives you the soul. I don't think he's going to start sharing it. So,
well, I think trauma, extreme trauma, pieces of your soul can break off. There's people who, their whole service is helping people recover their soul fragments.
Oh, interesting.
So,
well, the whole thing is crazy. Okay, so in the Montauk Project, like one of the main things that they do, and this we talk about a lot in the Monarch programming, the MK Ultra, is that they're splitting their minds, right, into like different alters, different egos.
Yeah, fracturing. Yeah.
Yes, and then like each alter may not be aware of the other alter. You get what I'm saying? Like you could have a person, three different person. They don't even know each other.
They can't know. I mean, I think there've been situations where people have, become aware of alters, but for the most part, they don't know. And that's the effectiveness of MK Ultra is they'll give you whatever the trigger is. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be a variety of things. Yeah. And it activates that alter, and the other the consciousness that was occupying that person, it just becomes dormant while this other alter takes over, and whether they're assassinating somebody or delivering a message or being a sex kitten or whatever, that's
that was definitely going on. So, the other thing that I knew, so I knew that in order to fracture their minds, they had to do brutal things to these kids. And they were young kids. Like when I say a lot of them started when they were 8 and then into the teen years, that window right there is when a lot of these kids, that was their age. And they were raping these kids, like raping, getting into the chakra, the energy, this energy transfer. But, and they were doing things like putting them in coffins with bugs and rodents, because they try to, like the horror that the traumatize the brain. And so then the other thing, and this is the part that I think a lot of people miss, they think about MK Ultra, but they don't think about the occult. This is satanic. Okay, they would start putting attachments on these kids, like demonic attachments. And it's like, why would they do that? Because I did not know this, but guess who can time travel? Demons and angels can time travel. Okay, so
other dimensionals, right?
What was that?
Yeah, other dimensionals.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I just have always heard. Well, I haven't always heard. Somebody had mentioned to me about how, like, when people with their crystal balls and somebody said, well, my grandmother, I want to talk to her. And then like, they're like a medium, but somebody said it's just like a demonic that's just time traveling, getting information and bringing it back kind of a thing. I don't know, but they were attaching demonics to this process so that they could, travel, I guess, plus all of the technology they had.
And, I know people that can go backward and forward in view in time with relative ease, because time's not linear, so it's
right.
Yeah, it's just finding a point and isolating it and going to it and viewing it. But as far as showing up, I don't know. I guess it would be anyone that can see time beyond the linear aspect of it that we're kind of.
Well, I just know that they were saying that the kids that they were after they had to be psychic. And, it could have just very well have been, you've heard the whole Jesus strand and like the Jesus bloodline. Was that who was in the chair? I don't know. I just know this is what they were doing. And then they have the ability with, I think this was like the Tesla technology. They had the ability to create like a time vortex where they would send, most of the time they were sending the clones back in time, not the actual person, because the actual person maybe was valuable to them and they didn't want to lose. Because when they first started doing the Montauk Project with all these boys, it was thousands of boys. Okay. When they first started doing these experiments, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So they just started sending kids through these vortexes. And a lot of times they didn't come back. They got lost in space, so to speak. Who the heck knows where they are now? Because you have to have like a time lock. You have to have like a point in space for it. So anyway, so they started sending these clones through the time tunnels. And the reason why they were doing that was to, well, I shouldn't say in every case, but one of the things that they were trying to do was to go back and change time, like change an event that would benefit the baddies. Like I had heard that there is a timeline where the South won the Civil War. What they did was they sent a bunch of these kids back to, and it's like, well, how do they know where to go? Like, apparently it's all mathematical. Like the kids have to think about it, and then there's a mathematical equation of like coordinates of how they send them through to a specific point in time.
Well,
and
that's
so
Project Pegasus.
Well, yeah, that's what they were doing in Pegasus, but how they know the math behind it, I have no clue. And maybe this is what Einstein and Tesla were figuring out.
Well, they found that they weren't successful with adults. For some reason, it works with children, and that's why they were using children.
Okay. Well, that would make sense. So, they like, for example, in order to pull off changing that we won the Civil War, they were like, for example, they would send a bunch of people back and then say they would kill a soldier and like swap in it and be like another soldier, and then start providing disinformation and spreading it around. And next thing you know, the wrong people are fighting each other. And then somehow, if you just keep going with this theory, we won the war. I've heard that there's a timeline where Germany won World War II. Okay. Now imagine this. Imagine a timeline where JFK survives. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I've had to really think about this one. Now, I know that JFK knew about their plots to try and kill him. And you know how we found that out? Lee Harvey Oswald.
Right.
He was like a double agent. Lee Harvey Oswald will be the unsung hero in all this. Wow. Because he warned JFK. He first told him about what was going to happen in Chicago, because they wanted to first kill him in Chicago. Like, I think Kennedy had gone up there to a Navy Army game, football, and then found out and decided not to go, under the premise that he was not going because he just found out that the Vietnam leader had died, which, by the way, was another CIA thing. Remember I said about the world leader? Okay, so he didn't go, and then word got back that about Dallas, and so I think there could have been a clever, very clever way that JFK could have gotten through that without dying. Okay. Not to mention, imagine if there was I know that there's a JFK clone. I have pictures of it. I've thrown it up on my channel.
We speculated that he survived this time around, and he's potentially still alive in this, what do we want to call it, incarnation or whatnot, this timeline.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that, okay, JFK, if he found out, he could, because all this weird stuff was going on that day that was so out of the ordinary. Like, windows were open. His entire staff, like most of his cabinet, was on their way to Japan. And it's, it's either they were trying to do stuff to like their accountability, like, well, I wasn't there that day, it wasn't me, but they might have known about the assassination, because I think Kennedy was surrounded by enemies. He's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
right? But then Kennedy outfoxed them, using their own people, using,
Yeah.
just cleverly pretending like he went through with it and died, but he didn't.
Just like
And
Junior.
exactly. They just fake it. But then I also thought about this. What if, okay, if because some people have said, well, it was a clone that was in the car.
A phone.
Yeah. Some people said that it was a clone.
Oh, clone. Clone, right.
A clone.
It'd be a good way to fake it. To be more realistic. I mean, why did they do the brain swap? I've never found a satisfactory explanation as to why, but that would offer one, wouldn't it?
Okay, well,
They had to
that's
get the brain out of the
whole
clone because there was evidence. I mean, maybe when you examine, I've talked to a pathologist, but maybe a clone brain is very different.
Well, because they were trying to change trajectories. They were trying to fit a narrative that wasn't working, and they're mushing his whole head up. And, one of the things that the cabal does, I mean, I really noticed this when I was doing the Manson murder deep dive, is they use other people. They don't, it wasn't even him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're using somebody else's head. The story, when it started off at Parkland Hospital, and then it moved on over to Bethesda, and the stuff that went down at Bethesda was cracking me up. They were talking about bringing brains in, like having covers in it to put it new. I mean, the whole thing is crazy. But then again, imagine you're blending two timelines together in all of this story. You have to separate them. Otherwise, you get so confused as to what happened. And I think that's part of why people can't figure this out, because they're blending two timelines together. A timeline where he died and a timeline where he survived. And quite frankly, I think he survived both, because if one was a clone, that wasn't the real JFK. And then the one he survived, they looked like they did a Hollywood production on one of the, like, what you visually see, like on the internet. It looks like a Hollywood production. I mean, Joe Kennedy used to own RFK Studios. They had all the trickery, the Hollywood stunts and everything. They could have pulled that off.
Well, if Junior really was the impetus behind this, the whole Cube effort, and we're watching a movie now, maybe we were watching a movie then, or maybe that was the inspiration for the movie now. All these things have come into play, whether it was masks or clones or, different timelines, all kinds of different things.
Well, yeah, and I also think about like the baddies being the ones doing this. They're the ones, like with the Montauk Project. First of all, what they were doing to the kids was atrocious. But then they're, sending clones back, and then now the clones, we don't, it's like, how do we know who the clone is?
Yeah.
We're surprised how many clones were floating around. I mean, I think that would be the real thing that would give people a heart attack, going, oh, by the way, did you know that half your family are clones?
Well, God, and it makes you wonder. It's sort of like RFK knowing all along. I mean, he went and visited Sirhan in prison, but he was convinced that was not his father's assailant. I don't know. You really got to wonder. There's an awful lot of secrets surrounding the Kennedys, and there's an awful lot of current events that are absolutely tied to them. And I mean, there's so many puzzle pieces. It's not just one puzzle, it's multiple puzzles.
Yes.
It's really, really hard to solve.
And the puzzle gets awfully strange when you start rolling in Balfour and the Greada Treaty and all that and gray aliens. It's like, what is it really? You
Now
know,
let's talk about that. We were talking about that yesterday, and that takes us back to Eisenhower and his his meeting with the Greys and whatnot. But yeah, tell the audience what you were telling me about unless you're not ready to get to that.
No, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention. I'm just going to plant this seed.
This is interesting.
Well, you know what? I'm trying to. Okay.
There's your MK Ultra right there.
I want to share my screen.
Okay. If you put it in there, then I will put it up on the screen. I think you ought to just be able. If you drop it, we've done this before. If you drop it into maybe you don't have a place to do that on your side.
I've always just done share screen, but I don't see that button.
Yeah.
Mute, swap, settings, preset, leave studio. I don't know how to share.
I can share on this side, but there's a way for me to. You don't have a button.
No.
All I can do is share from here.
Stream this to your. I had a lot of stuff to show.
Well, if you hold on a second here.
By the way, do you like my? Wait.
Well, I didn't see it. Hang on, I've got a screen over the top of you.
F around and find out.
Absolutely. It's not in settings. If you want to send it to me, I can share it from this side, but I know there's an easier way to do that.
Oh, I'm just thinking of all the things that I have. So you want me to send it where?
Well, you could email it to me, or you could text it to me, and I could add it from there.
Do you have a Telegram?
There's just nothing showing up in the settings.
Yeah.
That's certainly not it. General.
We can get through this without it.
Or I can figure it out while we're talking anyway.
Okay.
With any luck.
Okay, so let me just get my stuff on the Greada Treaty. I think most people will know this when I start talking about it, but I think most people don't even know what a Greada Treaty is. So, so when Eisenhower was when he was president, he had gone on this. I'm just going to tell you the beginning of the story. He went on this. This was like in this 1954. He went on this quail, hunting trip. And he comes back to the White House, and then all of a sudden he decides he's going on another trip again, which a lot of people thought was a little strange. And he said he was going to Palm Springs for, I don't know what it was, some kind of a convention or something. So this was February 17th through the 24th of 1954. Okay, so on the night of February 20th, people were having little dinners and whatnot, and Eisenhower went missing. Like, people were like, where is he? And all this hub was starting to, develop about where he was. Some people thought he had a heart attack, and other people thought he died. I mean, he literally was gone the whole night. Okay. And then the next day, so we're now talking, I guess it would have been the 21st, a dentist comes out to where the press was he was being interviewed by the press, and he was saying, President Eisenhower, he lost the cap on his tooth, so we had to do this emergency dental procedure on him. So that's where he was. Okay. Turns out that where he really supposedly was, I'm going to just say allegedly, because I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'm going to tell you some fun facts that will make you go, Okay, so
well, I will tell you real quick. I put a link for you to be able to share in the private chat. So if you hit the chat on the side, there'll be a link for you that should plug you right in on the share.
Oh, there's all the comments. What do you mean? Just put it into the chat?
Well, there's one that's the comments, and there's the other one that is private chat. That's you and I. So it should be in there for you. Trying to shift away from the blasting sunlight coming in.
Anyways, so now we're Sunday the 21st. Okay, the dentist comes out. He says, "Oh, he lost a cap," and it turns out that where Eisenhower allegedly was that night was he had gone to Edwards Air Force Base to he just went there, and he apparently there was, they called it first contact. Like some spaceship comes in, I'm telling you, this is the story, comes in, and these Nordic, like Palladians, come out and they meet with Eisenhower. Okay. And they say that they're coming with peace. They want him to stop with the nuclear, like shut the nuclear plants down, and we'll give you technology and whatever. And supposedly the story is that that he said no, like he wasn't going for the deal. And no, this is supposed to be with the benevolent aliens. Okay. And this story is going to start reminding you of the Philadelphia experiment, because dates are starting to be weird and events just are like this flip flop and stuff. Okay. So then after that, supposedly the tall green dude. Yeah, and I was going to show you a picture of that too. But anyways, you've seen the picture
with that link.
He's got like long blonde hair and he's really tall. That's what I think.
It ought to work if you click that link. It ought to be able to open up that button and you can just share till your heart's content. I don't know
where that link is.
Do you see where it says private chat?
Oh, there.
Yeah. Oh, there's a little link in there for you. Yeah. So hopefully that'll work.
It says entering the studio. What the heck?
We should have set that up before the show.
Okay, this is just telling me to enter the studio.
Yeah, go ahead and try that.
I know, but then I'm already in the studio.
Right, but it'll open up that window below, and then I'll be able to put it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should be good.
Okay, but now I'm echoing.
Do you have a button? Do you have a place to put what you're going to share now? That didn't work.
No. Okay, I know because I'm echoing.
Sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it's not.
I remember when Kevin was on here, there was places for me to share. That's like Zoom, like just share screen. But
yeah, I think if we would have activated that link before. Let me try one thing. No, that won't work. Invite guests. That's what I did. Well, anyway, we'll make it through.
Okay. So, so he kind of brushes off, not going to do anything. This is okay. I'm just telling you the story. Okay. So then after that, and then, okay, so the first incident, first contact happens on the week of, what did I say? February 17th through 24 in 1954. Okay. And by the way, where he was in Palm Springs. He was Edwards Air Force Base. That's out there where that Integratron is, not that far away. We're talking about the desert. This is the, California, Nevada desert, that area, the Mojave Desert. That's where a lot of weird stuff goes on out there.
You went there, didn't you? I mean,
yes. Into the Integratron, which is this big white dome, supposedly is a time machine. And it's out in Landers, California. And Vaughn and I went there. I kid you not, it was 120 that day. but they closed it down for the summer because it gets too hot out there to go inside of it. And so we still drove. We went to the Giant Rock, which is the largest freestanding boulder in North America.
Yeah.
And then we went to the outside of Integratron. We got to see how cool it looks. Anyways, this is where all this is taking place, in the desert. Like, he goes out there, sees benevolence. And then after that, and this is where I didn't know the dates. I was looking like, when after did this next one take place? I found a video last night where they say this next incident takes place February 11, 1955.
Oh.
Okay, this is starting to get a little significant. So just, you get February 1954, and now February 1955, the second contact comes. This is the one, the infamous gray alien. You know how Eisenhower supposedly cuts a deal with a gray alien. This is when it takes place. Now, this one took place at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. So, which is interesting, is like, okay, you get New Mexico and this one with the gray alien, which is out there where Roswell happened, not that far from, New Mexico, Roswell, White Sands, New Mexico area. And then the good alien, or the good benevolent being, is out there in the Mojave Desert, where not that far from Tegatron. When I say not that far, we're talking within like 60 miles or so.
Well, now,
Okay.
was that just outside of California?
Landers is in California, yeah, in the desert, Mojave.
I'm just wondering where, and you'll probably bring him up later, but isn't that where Jack Parsons went to do all the Crowley rituals?
Yeah, and then we get Area 51, which is in outside of Las Vegas, which is also in the Mojave Desert, because the border, you get the Nevadas, you get California, Nevada, it's like the same area there. And why they went there, maybe just they were doing this stuff because it was away from seeing eyes. So the story was that he meets this gray alien. Okay, and in a sec, we're going to talk about who really is the gray alien. And so the deal is that in exchange, what they were offering was, in exchange for livestock, minerals, small group of humans, like they would give us some like cool technology. Okay. And supposedly Eisenhower said yes. Okay. And this was the stipulations. Aliens would not interfere in our affairs. We would not interfere in theirs. Aliens would furnish the U.S. with advanced technology. Number 3, aliens could abduct humans and livestock on a limited basis for medical examination and monitoring. Number 4, the people in experiments would not be harmed and returned from their point of abduction, right? Number 5, the U.S. could also do a medical exam and genetic experience with aliens. Number 6, they should share the results. Number 7, aliens would be granted secret facilities for their accommodations and experiments. Okay, so this was the stipulations, whatever. And we've heard a lot about this, right?
Yeah.
Get a load of this. Supposedly, and well, first of all, we know they were doing this. We know about the child trafficking. We know about the blood harvesting and the organ harvesting and all the gross things, the genetic manipulation and modification they're doing down in the deep underground military bases. They're doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, yeah, they did this. Okay, so the deal, this is what made me go, 70 years. This was a treaty of 70 years. Well, guess what? If this in fact happened in February of 1955, we just ended our 70-year treaty with these effers.
Well, so look at all the disclosure,
baby.
Look at all the handset disclosure right now, too. I mean,
I'm telling you,
It makes a
if
lot of
we're
sense.
done with that treaty, I'll be so happy. Like, if that was really a thing. Okay, so, and then the third thing is going to be the thing with Valiant Thor. But
Well, before
let's
we move
talk
on,
about those great aliens.
yeah. Well, I wanted to bring up because the reason I brought up Parsons being in the same desert, and his relationship with Crowley or with Thelema. Crowley had what do we want to call it? Someone that he spoke to, that he was close with or whatnot, and the renderings. Remember Lamb? He called him
Yeah,
Lamb.
Lamb.
And what does
He's the
Lamb look
alien
like?
race.
Lamb
He
looks
looks
like
like
a
an
gray.
alien.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if all those things are connected.
Well, I think they are, because that experiment, what you're talking about, that, and
Mhm.
it was L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons, and Aleister Crowley, and they did it out in the desert, and they did it, I believe, in 1946, and then
Oh
Roswell
yeah.
happened in
So
1947.
Hillary
Okay,
Clinton was also born in 1947, and a lot of people thought that she might have been the whore of Babylon that they were
yeah,
trying to raise in that ritual.
that's what I've
A
heard.
lot went down in 1947. I mean, that was a really, really monumental year.
Oh man. We actually did a dive on that year because it was such a crazy year. But
Yeah,
okay, so the thing is they were doing sex magic in the desert,
right.
doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And Jack Parsons was in the cult. This is what I'm saying. Like, we got to keep going
Oh yeah.
back to the magic, the magicians. And by the way, if you take the word magician,
Uh-huh.
what's in the middle of that word? CIA.
Right.
They're magicians. They're occultists. That's what they are.
Well, that's Parsons was how all of this stuff got into the military-industrial complex because he was indispensable.
Who?
Jack Parsons, as a
Oh,
rocket scientist, he was indispensable, and at first there were attempts to get him out, and then he ended up being greeted very warmly, and then there was an awful lot of I don't know, we'll call it occulted leanings taking place. That's what then we got Michael Aquino and all of these, these other actors, satanic actors or whatever, that were, deeply embedded in the military that had massive influence over where everything went. Are you breathing into the mic? Come on. Did you hear that? Yeah.
I thought it was somebody else. Or no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Wasn't me. But,
So and by the way, I was telling you this yesterday. I think that Jack Parsons is a spitting image of Howard Hughes,
yeah.
which there may be a connection there.
Yeah.
So if they were doing all this occult stuff, this sex magic, and doing their spells and whatnot, and opened up a portal, because we know portals exist,
Yeah.
like, you go through a portal, you could go through like a wormhole, you could go to another time, another dimension,
Yeah.
and this was kind of what the Montauk Project kind of is you're opening up portals, or even the one you were mentioning, the Pegasus Project, where they were sending kids through portals to Mars. You remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
if I'm sorry, I can't show my computer right now, but I could show you. But people can look this up. Look up Lamb. This is the
Right.
picture that Aleister Crowley drew. What he saw come through the portal. And apparently, the story is, if you open a portal, you're supposed to close it. Well, Jack Parsons died before he could close the portal. So now we've got this portal open. We got this rip in our space-time continuum, which may be the reason why there's all this craziness going on. But if the picture of Lamb that Aleister Crowley drew of what he saw, it looks like a gray alien. It could be a demonic. Maybe they were bringing in demonic entities, or entity is an intra-dimensional entity of some kind that may have come through that portal. And another theory, and you and I were talking about this yesterday, another theory that I've heard, which actually makes a lot of sense to me, is imagine if you were doing the Montauk Project and you could go back in time to change something. The timeline that you came from is still moving forward, but you're back here. So now you're like a staggered timeline. And if they went back again and changed something, now you've got like 3, 4, 5, however many times they did this, all these staggered timelines. And I heard that they went all the way back to the Babylonian times to change something. So imagine the staggered time that we got going on. What if there are people like ourselves that are in the future because of this staggering that I'm talking about? And then there's people behind us. Like we're in the middle of this like movie, right? I have heard that maybe our future selves or future somebody has come back to feast on us. Like they need our adrenochrome, they need our blood. They, maybe they don't have souls anymore. They're coming back to this timeline to eat. I don't know. Or coming back here to change something. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
Well, I think those are all good guesses. I'm trying to put this picture of Lamb up on the screen, and it's not as easy as I'd hoped because I saved it in the wrong place. There we go.
Move the comments.
Now it'll work. Back to stream.
Somebody said I'm spot on.
I saw that. Let's try it one more time here. Image file. Now it's switched. I purposely saved it in another file, and then it hid the file. Well, anyway, yeah, it's pretty easy to look up, and it's definitely a gray alien looking.
Yeah. So maybe it's just somebody from way into the future had to come back.
Yes.
Because, again, demonics and angels can time travel. Or it was somebody that was coming through a time tunnel from in the future having to come back to do something in this timeline.
Well, the story that I mean, there's many stories about the Greys, but the story I got was that was humanity from another timeline. Yeah, that's our future if we go down the transhumanist route. And they're many of them are not biological at all. Those that are very little of them is biological. They're mostly technology.
Okay, well,
I don't know if that's true, but it's a widely circulated story.
Okay, first of all, some people say they're like from Zeta Reticuli. That's a story. But if it was us, and they're making a deal with Eisenhower, and he's saying okie doke, and to exchange for somebody's got this special technology or sitting on it. Could be the cabal sitting on it. Yes, Lamb.
We'll do it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, if he said yes to doing this, and the part of it is that it matches what we're seeing happen with all of the actual experiments on humans, right? So I feel like that Greada Treaty matches what our reality is. And by the way, Greada, you always have to, that's another thing when you're trying to unpack a false flag or any of this stuff, like then we talked about the numbers. And another thing is always look at the names. Sometimes the names will be like there's something within the name that's giving you a clue. It could be some fakey name, but Greada, like why did they pick that name? I'm like, well, if you take the A and you put it in front of the G, it just spells agreed treaty. Like we agreed to this. So if we were bound to this in some way, like there's rules of engagement of war and whatnot. You can't break these rules. The rules are the rules. You can do things you can't. If it was in fact a 70-year treaty, then that just ended. Okay, hang on. My battery is saying that I need to plug this in. I thought it was plugged in.
You know, I don't know if it's the solar weather or what, but between the technical problems and all the other stuff going on,
Hang on a
my
second.
mom had a power outage. It's just been nonstop.
Okay, mine is just because I didn't have it plugged in all the way. Okay, so it gives me hope. Oh, what did that just say? I missed that.
It was a reference to Project Looking Glass and that the White Hats potentially took over the timeline.
Well, maybe I've heard that the Project Looking Glass, which is, kind of like a peering device, that the Black Hats don't have access to it anymore, but that the White Hats still do. How that works, I don't,
it hasn't worked since 2012. There were no reliable results. That no matter what they did, they couldn't change the outcome after that period of time anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I've heard different stories. Some people say it's a really dark technology and you can't operate it and have a soul. I've heard other people talk about it in different ways. I mean, it could be. I mean, think of what Hitler was doing with the Vril Society and Maria Orsich, and I mean, they were able to see into the future. The oracles that would lay in the water and so on. And
yeah, and didn't they have it like some kind of a peering device as well? I mean, they didn't call it Project Looking Glass. It was something else, something mystery. I forget the name of it now, but I mean, even remote viewers, you're looking into the future. And what, speaking of Project Looking Glass, I highly recommend everybody to watch JFK, the movie JFK. I just feel like they just nailed it because we watched it at least 10 times because I was doing JFK research. And every time I go back and watch it again, I'm like, oh, did you hear that? And during some of the conversation, Kevin Costner plays Jim Garrison. He was the one that prosecuted Clay Shaw, and that went nowhere. But anyways, he was the one that was trying to bring justice for JFK. And in one of his lines, he said "Looking Glass." So I'm like, okay, well, was Looking Glass part of JFK? That goes back to this whole theory of changing timelines. Like,
sure does, yeah.
And maybe JFK, we heard, like I was saying, that Lee Harvey Oswald warned him, but he might have also had access to seeing into the future. We know there's clones made of him. Like I was saying, there's pictures I have some posted on the channel where they're clones of JFK. His clone, he's standing next to his clone.
Oh, I had a point and I lost it. This one's a little distracting.
Oh, I know what I was going to do.
Oh, Jack Cruz. Do you know about Dr. Jack Cruz?
Yeah, we did him when we were doing our last show. We clipped him in.
Yeah, because he was. I mean, when they were filming, when Oliver Stone was filming that movie, it was in the basement of the building that Cruz was working in.
Yeah, that was in New Orleans at the public health hospital. It's gone now. They don't have it anymore.
That Tulane grad, and he was talking about all the different equipment and so on. We did cover that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Wouldn't it be fun to have him on an interview?
Oh, that would be really fun.
I mean, specifically about this. He talks about everything else. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. We get into some deep stuff. Okay. One thing I wanted to mention about Eisenhower. Remember I said, I'm going to tell you these stories about what happened about first contact. And then the other thing I feel like we have to consider is, and this is one of those other things that people need to look out for, is he was part of the Order of the I think it was called Order of the Elephant. Like he was a total deep Mason. Eisenhower was. And I found some stuff on him too. Like there's some articles that are like he was Jewish cabal piece of S POS. So it looked to me like he was body. And then when you see the Masons, if you see them wearing medals or they're part of this order or that order, to me that's just such a big red flag. Because I feel like a lot of them, they're in the business of keeping secrets. They're in secret societies. That's what JFK warned us about.
Yeah.
That they're repugnant in a free and open society. So I think he was calling them out, the secret societies, the Masons, the Skull and Bones, et cetera, et cetera. And then when he was saying he was going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces, I didn't finish that thought. Is that when they do this time travel stuff, the stuff at Montauk, they dematerialize people into 1,000 pieces, and then they rematerialize.
I think it'd be more than 1,000, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's what happens. They dematerialize so they can go through the like through the time tunnel and then rematerialize. Think of the TV show Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
It's like they're gone and all of a sudden they reappear, or I Dream of Jeannie, or any of those other shows. Well, what if that's what he's telling us? What if him saying, I'm going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter them to the wind? Because if you scatter it to the wind, then they're never going to materialize.
Yeah.
And then his secret society speech, he's telling you the secret societies are bad and the CIA is bad, and the CIA is doing experiments with this materializing, dematerializing Monarch project, time travel stuff.
Well, gosh, it just seems like there was so much he was trying to reveal. When anybody asked, like, why did they target him? It was everything from UFO. The UFO file is probably the most favored. There was a bunch of human trafficking secrets. That one involves Marilyn Monroe, but so does the UFO file. And and he knew where the bodies were buried for sure. I mean, to this day, I mean, how many sitting presidents have been bonesmen? A great number of them.
Yes, they have. And one of their I don't know if you call it mission statements or their goals is to kill world leaders. That's part of their thing about how they keep rising up in their order. Yeah, the Skull and Bones, yeah. And then the Skull and Bones like match to the Skull and Bones for the blacks is the Boule. The Boule was modeled after Skull and Bones. So and that connects to MLK. MLK and the Boule, that's like a whole nother deep dive. But
from a fraternal standpoint, but aren't they? I mean, they're basically the black version of the Illuminati, right?
They're the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
They're the gatekeepers of the round table group. They're the ones that are helping carry out these false flags or directives that come down from above. But in essence, they are protecting the white elite. They are elite in the black society. They get paid privileges and whatever, but they can never go higher than a 33rd degree Mason. Or a white, like 33rd degree, can go even higher. Blacks, that's their cutoff point. So there's a lot of famous and wealthy black actors and athletes that are Boule, like
Like P. Diddy?
Yeah, well, like LeBron James.
Yeah, yeah.
And even who was the one that allegedly died?
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant, Boule. Martin Luther King was Boule.
So,
but I think there's a whole story behind what came next, but that's for another show. But getting back to this, okay, so I feel like I think JFK was warning us when he talked about the scattering and the secret society that we need to make those connections. And again, this is like Montauk Project stuff.
Right.
Okay, and MK Ultra. I know for a fact that Lee Harvey Oswald was MK Ultra. And why was there two Lee Harvey Oswalds running around? It's like,
Exactly.
was he not a going through the time travel? You know, was one of them a clone? Were both of them a clone? Because he definitely was at Atsugi. He was in Japan. They were doing experiments on him with true serums and whatnot. So, and remember all the weirdness in New Orleans?
There's always weirdness in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But Cruz, what was I going to say about Cruz? He said that they've MK Ultra most Americans. They did it through blue light spectrum and a variety of other things. That explains the last 8 years in a lot of ways, and why people are setting fire to Teslas, I suppose. But I don't.
One thing I what time is it? Okay, we got 7:20. Okay, so one thing that just really stood out to me when I was doing the JFK was that, because I believe that all presidents are controlled. They have to mind control them as well. They can't have, some rogue operator in there doing stuff that the cabal doesn't want him to do. So if you go back and look at like I feel like JFK was controlled, but then he woke up out of like his programming.
Yeah.
This is if you just look at, he was following along and then boom, like he starts going against the Illuminati. So JFK had this doctor. They called him Dr. Feelgood. His name was Dr. Max Jacobson. He was a German Jewish doctor. And he was like, he had visited the White House like 34 times. Like, why is he going there so much? What is he doing? So apparently, JFK had this back issue going. He was wearing like a back brace. I think that might have even been a cover. Like they were saying, oh, well, the doctor needs to go there and give him pain medication, opioids, codeine, and methamphetamines. I was like, why are you putting him on methamphetamines?
Yep.
I mean, it's like people should have been like, why are you doing that? So this doctor, he kept going to the White House. And then there was this other doctor. His name was Hans Knaus, Knaus. He told Kennedy in December of 1962, he found out like how much medication Kennedy was on. He was on like steroids, all this pain medicine, methamphetamines, uppers, downers. And so he said that no president with his finger on the red button has any business taking stuff like that. He wrote this book was called JFK's Secret Doctor. And so then they started weaning him off of the medication. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, during this time, and one more thing before I move on. This Dr. Max Jacobson, you want to know who some of his other patients were? Because I think it all ties together.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley, Nelson Rockefeller, Marilyn Monroe, Frank Sinatra, Sam Giancana. Remember I was saying the Chicago Monster? Right. Judy Garland. And we know Judy Garland was definitely part of the Montauk Project. There were some whistleblowers that had mentioned that I think she looks exactly like the girl that plays her in the Stranger Things.
Yeah.
She looks just like Judy Garland. Like, what if the whole story about 11 is really about Judy Garland and what the hell they put her through?
Or if it's a nod to Wizard of Oz.
Well, that too, but the Wizard of Oz programming. Maybe that's where it came from. But I mean, there was this guy that was saying, "Oh yeah, Judy Garland, she was in there, and the age regressed her, and then she came forward, and then she went back. Like she was in different timelines." And I mean, it was crazy what the stories that they were saying about Judy Garland and the Montauk Project. But anyways, Judy Garland and Sam Giancana, Frank Sinatra, so on, and even Hitler. Okay, like we know Hitler was a puppet of the Illuminati. He also
liked meth.
What?
He also really liked meth. No, it's true. It's true. And then, Obama, I mean, he's a lot of cocaine. A lot of cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why I was
Okay.
cracking up when they found the cocaine in the White House and everyone was acting shocked because it's like, come on. There's always been cocaine in the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting back to JFK, so there was this Mary Pinchot Meyer. It was one of JFK's like lady friends. I don't know if what they were doing behind closed doors, but needless to say, she's in pictures. She was a friend of JFK.
Yeah.
Her husband, it was Cord Meyer, and he was like one of the top dogs in the CIA, and he was the one that created Operation Mockingbird. Okay, his wife is now hanging out with JFK. So I was like, what's going on here? Well, I think that her name was Mary Pinchot Meyer. So that you got the MM. You take two M's and you put it on the side, and it's a 33. Just like Marilyn Monroe. I mean, we know Marilyn Monroe, that wasn't her real name, it was Norma Jean.
Yeah.
So
Norma Jean.
they create these names. Remember I saying watch the names? They create these names to suit their little stories and whatever. So I think that they sent Mary Pinchot Meyer in there to help program JFK because his doctors weaning him off his drugs over there. And apparently the story was that she may have been giving JFK LSD. Okay. But they also smoked marijuana, and that the marijuana might have broke him out of some type of programming. That marijuana apparently can do that. Maybe that's why they didn't want to pass marijuana and make it legal.
That's why it was so regulated for so long. Yeah.
And so my theory has always been that he woke up and then he sees everything that's going on. And then after the whole fiasco with the Bay of Pigs and the Cuban Missile Crisis, he goes and fires Alan Dulles, which we already know what a jerk that guy was. He was the head of the CIA, and then he fires the number 2 in command, which was Charles Cabell, whose brother, by the way, was the mayor of Dallas. So you could see that, they're all just so connected. And then lastly, and this was the one that really, it made me go, wait a minute. He fired this guy, Richard Bissell, like the vacuum cleaners.
Oh, yeah,
like,
I remember that name. Yeah.
So Richard Bissell was involved with Project Rainbow. And Project Rainbow is another name for the Philadelphia experiment, aka the Phoenix Project, aka the Montauk. You see the connections here?
Totally. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think JFK was telling us about the Montauk Project and that they were doing this. And it was getting so utterly out of control. Because imagine that let's say God, I've seen this chart. I have it. Again, I can't show it because we can't share stuff today, but I'll just describe it. That, like, if you look at a time travel chart, there's different ways to, like, time travel. One is to go, like, kind of like Marty in Back to the Future. You go back in time and you change something and then you go forward. Then there's, like, Groundhog Day, where it's the same thing over and over. Like, it's almost like fate. Like, no matter how much that you want to change something, God has a set point where he's not going to let you change it. And some of the I've heard some of the whistleblower testimony from the Montauk Project. One of them being Arkeim Ra. He's amazing. Everybody should watch him. His name is Arkeim, is Arkeim, or maybe there's an H in there. And last name is Ra, R-A. And he was one of the Montauk boys, and he was talking about, oh yeah, like they would send me back to this time to go, retrieve something from another timeline. Then I would come back, and so on and so on. I mean, he was talking about how crazy it was. Imagine a rogue scientist doing all this, where they keep trying to change timelines to suit them, but then God gets it. God won't let them go too far. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the theory that you can't really go back in time because it's a paradox theory, but the idea that you're going to be on a different timeline every time, and there's that theory that the experimentation in trying to do it is they produced all these different timelines,
Yes.
and there's a lot of consequences that we're dealing with now, and that
Yep.
probably had a lot to do with the Philadelphia experiment.
Well, again, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Was it really the Montauk that then created the Philadelphia experiment? You know what I'm saying? I still don't really know about that one. What came first?
I don't either, but I think you're right about, I think there were some discoveries made, by JFK, some massive discoveries about basically the structure of the world, with regard to secret societies and how they control everything. And, but to include all of these projects that the public would never agree to if they knew all the facts. And, then we get all the way to Junior, who's best friends with Trump, and now we're in this. I mean, it's just it all makes an awful lot of sense. I mean, it's a great script. I mean, we're watching a movie, right?
It's on script.
Huh?
Well, if it's just a script, then all this is BS.
No. I mean, I don't mean it's just a script. It's a reference to us watching a movie. That's all. That doesn't mean we're not living it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of craziness. I mean,
well, you look at if we want to call them coincidences, I mean, it's really interesting we're having the intense solar weather that we're having right now, particularly around Easter. It's like, I imagine this is Looking Glass related or something along those lines, but these outcomes couldn't have possibly been predicted in a conventional way, because the cooperation of Mother Nature is involved here. All kinds of different things. I kind of feel like a lot of what we felt as delays really has been just waiting for an event where they could then proceed with the movie.
what if what they're waiting for is the Greada Treaty to expire?
I think that plays into it. That's a brilliant conclusion. I was thinking about that since you mentioned it last night. It kind of really scratches the itch, doesn't it? Because now we're having, I mean, do you watch Redacted at all?
No.
It's Clayton Morris is all about this. He's a guy who used to be on Fox, friends of Tucker Carlson and so on. They do a really good job. But he's kind of going down that road. The missing plane, I can't think of the flight number, but the missing plane from a number of years ago.
Wait, there was a show about that where they went out of our timeline.
There is a show, I think it's loosely about that, but the plane itself, they had two different camera angles that sync up perfectly. And these orbs start circling the plane, and there's these crazy movements at first, and then they synchronize, and then there's this big boom, and just like this energy vortex thing, and the plane is gone, and it's remained gone.
Okay, well, that happens. That's been happening. I mean, what comes to mind? Have you ever heard of the WOW signal?
God, that sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Okay, so I think it was it 1977? What year did Elvis die, allegedly?
I don't remember.
Okay, so I think it was 1977. For some reason, I think that's when it was.
It sounds about right.
Right after he dies, I'll call it a UFO signal, for lack of a better way to describe it. There was these energies that were being picked up at like Ohio, I think Ohio State or some some university were picking up these signals, like a flash of energy had just come through after he died. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, think back to the movie Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
And remember the flash when he goes boop out of the realm?
Yep.
There's a big flash.
Yeah.
Okay. These little flashes of energy, these little like people are here and all of a sudden, boom, they're dead, or boom, they're gone, or just something happens where they're just out of our existence.
Yep.
Well, what if it relates to what you're talking about? Just all of a sudden something changes. Well,
Yeah.
what if they're coming out of our existence because they're in a different time, like they jumped out of this timeline into another one and they're gone. Boom.
Do we have a date on when the Greada Treaty was signed? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
That was February. Okay, it was supposed to be February 20th, 21st, 1954. No, excuse me. Wait. That was the first contact, was 1954.
I just wanted the month because I find it really strange.
February.
Well, I find it even stranger that no one's really talking about it, but that the White House just said we have the ability to alter time and space. Like just threw it out there. No
I know
explanation.
we've been like talking about it. It's like, are they watching us?
Well,
Are
I
you
mean,
guys watching our channel?
this is the Trump effect. I mean, the Kennedy legacy to all this stuff.
Right.
But it really lines up with the end of that treaty, I think.
Okay, so the 54 was the first contact with the Tulls, the Palladian Nordic people.
Thank you,
I
Maria.
was looking all over the internet for a time, and then Malaysia flight. Okay, yeah.
I believe that's the one they're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I found a video. Vaughn and I were. It was a total like kind of a boring video where they were talking and droning on, but they were talking about, like, they were witnesses. They were at the base, at this Hollerman Air Base in New Mexico when it was signed. And this guy was reenacting. They were going through, oh, this guy was in dress blues and this guy was wearing khakis and blah, blah, blah. It was like totally boring. But the guy did throw out a date of February. Wait, wrong page. I was February 1955. Let's see. February 11th, 1955. That's what they said anyways. I don't know if that's accurate.
I think 55 was a really big year also. Not quite like 47, but I think there was an awful lot that was going on there.
Yeah, well, that's the year of Marty that went back, during Back to the Future. That was 1955.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
when you just take that movie, I was like, okay, something big happened in 1955. Something big, because what were they going back to change?
Well, this is why I invited Matt Geiger on the show, because he's fascinated with the Kennedys. He knows the George magazine side of this, up one side and down the other. And he has a lot of reasons to. It's kind of interesting. And and he met the fellow that is presumed to be Elvis. And what was the last thing you just mentioned?
Valiant Thor?
No. Before that.
Create a treaty?
No, after that.
I don't know.
I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, Matt would have been really fun to have on the show for that reason. But and others.
Okay, let me tell you one more piece of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. And this, from my mind, is one of these things. If I see a pattern, I'll just I'll notice it right away. Like, just like this thing with Dr. Feelgood. How many of these people, like Marilyn Monroe and JFK and whatnot, Elvis? Okay, so before I get to this, let me explain Valiant Thor. Okay, so remember I told you last summer, my husband and I, Vaughn and I went out to, we've done this little road trip, and we went to the Integratron.
Yep.
Well, the Integratron, if I'm not mistaken, the story went that the night before, and this thing is huge. It looks like a big white dome, like a big egg dome, massive, huge. And it's got like these red lights that go around the outside of it. And the way it's supposed to work is kind of like that, the German, what's the little thing that the
Oh, the
time
the Nazi bell, but
the
I can't
Nazi
think of
bell. Well,
the German name for
it's
it.
like rotating. It's like you have something rotating this way and then something rotating that way. And when you have these two opposing forces, it creates like lift. It creates like energy for like say for time travel to happen.
Opens a portal. I mean, there's this guy that was describing that very thing because that's what happened to that flight. But it's interesting
Oh,
because the movie Contact, remember, it looked like a gyroscope. It was the same sort of thing, those rings,
yeah.
with an opposing spinning. And once they achieved a certain speed or whatnot, then the capsule and the device was gone. And
Okay.
Jodie
Well, that
Foster went
makes sense.
elsewhere. Yeah.
Okay, so the story goes on Integratron. Okay, before I even tell you about what happens the night before that they're supposed to flip it on, literally, I want to say not even 2 miles away, probably less than 2 miles is my guess. I think I told you about the giant rock that's just down the road from the Integratron, and it's the
Oh yeah.
largest freestanding boulder. Okay, well, back in the 50s, what are you laughing at?
Well, it's just all the different roadside attractions, like world's largest ball of string, and it reminds me of the Pee Wee Herman movie. It's just funny. Or driving through
I
South
know.
Dakota. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wall
And then when
drug.
you have ADD like we
Yeah.
do, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, look. Okay, so back in the 50s, okay, there was the guy who created the Integratron, his name was George Van Tassel.
Right.
Okay, so he used to work for Howard Hughes. He was like a um he worked on airplanes. He was like a mechanic or something like that. Well, he decides in like the 30s to go and move to Landers where this giant rock is. Okay. He makes this, like, he buys this strip of land and he creates a little airstrip. He creates a restaurant, a gas station. And so he's out living in the desert. He used to work for Howard Hughes, and somehow Howard Hughes gets involved in this whole story. But um,
Of
he
course.
back in the 50s. Okay, so this giant rock, apparently it gives off this massive energy. Like this freestanding rock is just like maybe underneath it is this huge ley line, because it's interesting where it's like, okay, you got the giant rock here and you got the Integratron here, and there's like connected. Is there a ley line that's connecting these two amazing things, right? So when we went there last year, not one person was near the rock. It's this huge boulder. And so I got out of my car because you can like drive in the sand. We're like going like four-wheeling to get to this thing. And so we get out and I go and I hug it because I thought I definitely felt happy after that. There was definitely some kind of cool energy that my body was receiving from this giant rock. It's super cool. Everybody has to go out there. But anyways, back in the 50s, this is back there when Van Tassel. What are you laughing?
No, I just think I mean, you're generally pretty happy, but no, I'm just thinking I got to put that on my list. Go see the rock.
Yeah, everybody should do it. And so, and when the Integratron, like if you're going to go do this, don't go there in the summer, because in the Mojave Desert it gets so hot that they have to like close the thing down. And
Yeah.
so anyways, back in the 50s, all these people would come out to this area like where the giant rock was, to and they were saying that like there was contact, like people from Venus were like, there was like a contact there in this area, like people would see like ships and whatnot, and they said that the people that they were hoping to see were from Venus. They call them Venusians. Okay, well, the story with George Van Tassel is that he gets somebody, like, he gave him the what do you call it, the the plans for the Integratron, like how to build it. That didn't come from him. He said like somebody from Venus or Palladian / Nordic had given it to him. And if I'm not mistaken, it was telepathically. Like he just wakes up one day and all of a sudden, and he said that the guy's name was Selgunda or El Gunda or something like that. And so then he goes and he built this, right? So now we're getting into this cool mid 1950 era, right? And apparently the person that helped fund the building of Integratron is Howard Hughes. And the literature says that Howard Hughes' best friend is Elvis. And it's like, wait a minute. Something is getting crazy with this story here. Because if you go and you watch the movie Elvis, Elvis in the movie says something about the giant rock of eternity.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like this is how I found out about the giant rock. I'm like, of course, I'm like typing, was there a giant rock somewhere? And then I'm like, oh my God, there's a giant rock in the desert. Oh, and look, just down the way is the Integratron, which was funded by Howard Hughes. And Howard Hughes' best friend is Elvis. Like, what is going on here? Okay.
Well, what was the stated intention of the Integratron? What was it supposed to do?
It's a time machine.
Okay. I
Okay.
thought so. I thought maybe there was more
My
to it.
theory is this is my theory, is that somebody was part of, let's just call it the Montauk Project, because it's not just clones going through these time tunnels. What they were doing in the beginning, they were just sending kids through the time tunnels just as is, and these kids wouldn't come back, so they kind of got lost somewhere. Okay, that for sure was happening. Okay, so imagine this. You're like one of the Montauk boys, and they send you through a time tunnel, and all of a sudden, boom, you're in 1955, and you're like, what the frick? This isn't my timeline. Like, think of Marty in the Back to the Future. And so you're like, I guess I'm gonna have to make a time machine to get out of here. It's like, what if they made these time machines for that period of time to get out of there? And maybe that's what the Integratron was, because the story about that, the night before they were going to flip the switch on, George Van Tassel, the guy who supposedly built the thing, he dies. I thought, no. I think that thing worked, and he went out of this realm. So it looks like he died. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like Maria Orsic. They said she died in her like early 40s or whatever it was, but the prevailing opinion is she went back to Aldebaran, that she was never from here, and kind of interesting. Yeah.
And what cracks me up is, and I wish I had written it down, but I think I have it in memory. When you start talking about Elvis, because we haven't even gotten to Valthor, but if you start looking at the data points with how, because I was doing big, deep research on Howard Hughes. And then so Howard Hughes was a germaphobe. Okay.
Yeah.
Trump is a germaphobe.
Yep.
Tesla was a germaphobe.
Yeah.
They all had these hotels. And then I did a deep dive linking Donald Trump to John Jacob Astor. And he was the one that supposedly was on the Titanic. And we know there was 2 Titanic timelines. One where it sank and one where it didn't. So I think we're dealing with this multiple timeline scenario. And I was like, why does Donald Trump have a hotel? John Jacob Astor had the
Astoria, or the Waldorf Astoria.
Waldorf Astoria, which by the way, I think Trump ended up buying. Howard Hughes was living in a hotel when he was living in Las Vegas. And then Elvis used to live at the International Hotel in Las Vegas, and then you got Trump International, and we've seen the picture with Trump and Elvis side by side. I mean,
Yeah.
my mind has theories, but I'm, I don't want. I haven't been reading the comments. Are people thinking I'm wacky at this point?
No, they're loving you. No, everything's great.
So,
Wait for this one to jump through the window. She's losing her patience a little bit, I think.
what?
But
Oh, the dog.
yeah.
Oh, I was
But,
like, who's she? I thought you were talking about me.
well, she's gone out the window before, so that's why I'm hanging on to her.
Okay.
So, but getting back to Val Thor.
Okay. This blew me away today. Okay, so remember I told you just one little fact to keep in the back of your mind is that Eisenhower was a Mason. I mean, he was the Order of the Elephant, or the something elephant, the golden elephant. So he was, when I say order, we're talking like Knights of Malta, which is connected to the Vatican. They've got their sovereign military order. And so I was like, Eisenhower probably was reporting back to the Vatican, like that was who ultimately was controlling him. Yeah, there's the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and so on and so on, but if they all kind of just feed up to the Vatican, right? So, on what was I going to do? Was I doing Val Thor? Oh yeah, Valiant Thor. Okay, let me get my Valiant Thor page. And this, I really did have a lot of screenshots to share, but I'm going to do my best to explain this without showing you pictures. Okay, so the story with Val Thor is, okay, so first of all, the first contact with Eisenhower happens in February of 1954, right? Then supposedly the Greada Treaty is signed in 1955. So first you got the benevolence coming, and then being shooed away, and then you get the gray aliens, but we think that it could be somebody from the future coming back, signing the treaty. And then after that, all of a sudden the story in 1957 is that this man who looks just like Elvis, named Valiant Thor, I swear, go look at Valiant Thor. You're going to be like, oh, thank you, Toad. I needed to see that. I'm like, okay, they're not thinking I'm too whacked out.
No.
Okay, so
I mean, you're on TruthStream.
okay, good. So Valiant Thor, he was, he had brown wavy hair, and he came to the story is that in 1957, this spaceship lands in Alexandria, Virginia. Okay, and the cops come. This is the story. And this guy gets off the ship, and he's this good-looking guy, supposedly from Venus. Okay, and they take him to meet. First, I guess they go to see Eisenhower and Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon is big in all this, by the way. I mean, we should do a whole thing on Nixon because he is tied in big time. Okay, so he goes there, and then they take him to the Pentagon, where he allegedly lives for 3 years at the Pentagon, starting in 1957 to 1960. Okay. Wow. Now, there was this man, his name was Frank Stranges. Now there's somebody, that name kind of made me go, when you get a weird name. He was I guess he was like a reverend, and he somehow sees the spaceship and says, I want to go there. Like, he somehow inserts himself into this story. Like, I think he says he saw the spaceship, and so he goes there, and so on and so on. And he writes this book called Stranger at the Pentagon, which is supposed to be fiction, but sometimes there's truth in fiction, right? Like, he writes this whole book, and the guy in the book's name is not Val, but it's VAI. But the whole story, supposedly, of what he writes about in this book called Stranger at the Pentagon is the story of Val Thor. Okay. So, when Val came, he kind of did the same thing came with the same message that the Nordic / Palladian / Venusian, whatever one it was, from 1954, kind of came with the same message, like, stop with your nuclear program, stop, and please, like, we'll give you special technology, just stop with it. Like, the message was no more nuclear. The message in 1954 with that person, no nuclear. Val Thor, no nuclear. And who said no nuclear in 1963? JF freaking K. Do you see the pattern here? And one more person that we could throw into the mix of being all about stopping the nuclear, like them creating nuclear plants and whatnot, was John Titor, the time traveler. We've mentioned him before. His story was, the story of John Titor is he comes in 1999. He's on this, I think he got onto a Coast to Coast show. Remember the radio show, Coast to Coast? And his show is all about aliens and stuff like that. So he comes on there to tell people that he is a time traveler. And he's going to the year, he needs to go back to the year like 1973 to get a part from some IBM computer to bring forward to the year 36. It's 30 something, to stop a nuclear event. Okay, that was his story. More of his story was that on his way back to the future, he stops off in the year 1999 and meets with JFK Jr. to warn him about the plan on his, that they were going to assassinate him. And then he meets with JFK. This is the story. He meets with JFK Jr. and then moves along. And then JFK Jr. skirts his accident and so on. So now we got 4 people who are trying to stop this nuclear, event that just, it's obviously all 4 of them, benevolent people, are trying to stop it. We got John Titor. We got this first contact with Eisenhower. We got Valiant Thor, and then you get JFK. Okay. I might add that, okay, when I was reading this book, or excuse me, I was reading this, what?
Trump's been bringing it up as well. He keeps bringing up the nuclear thing.
Yes. Oh, that was the 5th one, actually. It's Trump. I have it all written out. He did this speech, I don't know what year it was, maybe in his first term, and he did a whole speech about how we need to stop this. Okay, so that's 5 benevolent beings that are trying to stop the nuclear, and they have to keep countering the bad guys. It keeps reminding me of Montauk, like, we're trying to do something cool, and then the baddies come and change the timeline, and we have to go back and get it right, and then they do another bad thing, and we have to go back even before that and change it. I don't know if that was what was going on, but it sure seems like it. So, continue on with Val Thor. Okay, so Val Thor.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. I'll be off camera. I can hear you. I'm just gonna let this one out, just because I don't know what she's trying to
I'll just keep the story. Just don't
just keep talking. I can hear you. I'm just gonna be out of camera for a moment.
Okay. So Valiant Thor, he was, during this time that he came, was during the time that the military were conducting, the CIA, I believe it was the CIA, the Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was about trying to identify these UFO incidences, to weed out to see which ones were fake and which ones were real. And apparently Valiant Thor's arrival got classified in a Project Blue Book. I think it was Project Blue Book number 14. And some of the things about Val was that he had no fingerprints. He came in this like gold outfit, which reminded me of Elvis in his full-blown gold outfit. And this gold outfit like was like bullets couldn't penetrate through it. It was almost like armor. Okay. And it was made of like gold, like silky gold, like the outfit that he came in. And I told you he had no fingerprints. He had 6 fingers, and he had this like big lung. That's supposedly that's what they saw. And then part of the story was that when he was meeting with this, he ended up meeting with this Frank Strangest guy, the guy that I told you that wrote the book called Stranger at the Pentagon. And he said, that he interfaced with him. Somehow he gets into the Pentagon, which I don't know about that. It seems a little sketch to me. But that, I mean, some of the stuff you have to be like, oh, really? He said that he could, okay, these are the little, like, now start making your mind go in a different direction, okay? Val told Frank Strangers, the author, that he could materialize and dematerialize at will, and that the spaceship had some kind of a cloaking device on it. Okay. So when I started taking all these facts together, I was like, wait a minute, you got materialize and dematerialize. Well, wasn't that what they were doing at Montauk with the kids?
Right.
Making them going, like, scattering into little pieces so they could get through these time tunnels. So Val Thor's doing that. He also had a thing apparently on his spacecraft that had a peering device, like where you could see into the future. And the
Like
story
a looking glass?
yeah. Yeah. So I'm going, oh, wait, this is getting, is this story even true? Because this is starting to sound like the other project, right?
Right.
And so then today Vaughn and I was trying to review all my notes, and I was note taking, and I was showing him some of these Val Thor videos. And so I'm looking at it and I go, oh, hell no. I look at this picture, I'm like, there was a picture, and what are you laughing at?
What's cracking me up? Well, Hobbit was talking about the fact that he had one lung. This was Val's comment.
Okay, that's funny.
Too good not to share. Sorry.
Well, I don't know what was down there. I don't recall them talking about that, but so anyways, so when I see this video today, and they were talking about the man, Frank Strangest, like who he was, what he looked like, and his story about Val. And I'm looking at him going, he's standing next to this guy that's full blown got medals of Masonic medals, like Knights of Malta medals, as the Knights of Malta has a certain, like, and I thought, oh my God. And then I look over at Frank, and he's got a medal around his neck that he's not as decorated, but I saw what looked like the Knights of Malta insignia. Like, he's wearing a medal.
Right.
And at that point in time, I thought, you know what? Is this guy, is he's, because they're in the business of lying, deceiving, right? And keeping secrets. So maybe he wrote this book. So the book was supposed to be fiction, because it is fiction. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of got disturbed that this Frank Strangest who wrote the book was a decorated Mason. I just bothered me, because I'm thought, oh, well, okay, is this going to link us to the occult and all the weird stuff they do? Like, what's going, like, something's not right here. Like, it made me do a left turn on this dive. Okay, so then, and this is the one thing I really wish I could show right now. Oh, real quick, well, a couple more fun facts on Val. He had an IQ of 1200. Okay, Einstein had an IQ of 160, so what the heck? How does he have IQ? And he had copper in his blood. And when I saw copper, I'm like, it may, I
So
don't,
his blood was blue. That would make his blood blue.
Okay, well, weird. And he's got 6 fingers. So, but he's benevolent, like he's coming to
Help.
help.
Mhm.
So I was getting a little confused. Okay, so then I see this TikTok video, and this is I really want to share this, but I can't. But I'll just
Well,
give you. I'm going to share it on my channel tomorrow. Okay, if those of you who don't know that, let me just show this real quick so that people know, because sometimes they don't.
If you could text
This right
it
here.
to me, if you, yeah,
Go to this.
absolutely.
I'm going to have more stuff on Val that I haven't shown the channel tomorrow. Okay, so.
If you want to text it to me, Denise, I can play it.
Oh, you can?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to do. Wait, where's my phone? I have to. We have to play this because this is going to make people think. Because we can't always believe what we're told. Like
Oh, God.
It was Val Thor that everybody's like, oh my God, Val Thor. He's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, he seems like the great guy. Oh, but the fact that he looks like Elvis is making me go, what if it was like Elvis that was in a Montauk project? Did they clone Elvis? I don't know. Think about that. IQ of 1200? Is he from Venus? Maybe. But
Elvis from Venus?
Val Thor is from Venus.
No, right. But I thought you were asking about Elvis being from Venus.
Well, maybe he is. One thing is for sure. Well, wait a minute. Okay, the FBI files show that Tesla was from Venus.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Alex Collier goes into that.
Remember, okay, I'm linking 6 men together. Trump, Elvis, Howard Hughes, Nikola Tesla, John Jacob Astor, possibly Barron Trump, and was there another one? Just those guys for sure. They're just linking together with all of their like germaphobes having hotels. You know, are they the same guy, just in a different timeline? And then our timelines merged in 2012. So we got all. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm seeing patterns. Okay, so Elvis. I want to show you. Okay, I'm just going to show. Can you see this? Oh, darn it.
Not all that well, but if you text it to me.
Okay, let me text this to you.
Yeah.
Wait a sec. Oh, wait. This one, I think people have seen this, but they're going to go, what? Okay, Scott. Okay. I just sent it to you.
Okay. Oh, it's just an image?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first one, yes. I haven't sent the other thing yet.
I'm going to just hold this one up.
That's Trump and Elvis. Okay.
Wow.
You know, Elvis had a twin.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. It gets pretty interesting.
This lights have to tell you this. Okay, so when I first started doing Elvis Presley last year, well, it was like early. No, it was in 2023 that we did. No, was it 2024? I want to say it was January, February of last year we did Elvis, like so a year ago. I was like, how are these two connected? Are they twins? Like genetically twins? Are they some people said, oh, they're cousins. Like I was like, well, how are they connected? There's something. Trump was a twin. Okay, so maybe they were twins. But then what's crazy is that Trump and Elvis are 11 years apart. So I'm like, well, did they freeze an egg and then
Yeah.
send it through. Did they literally send an egg through a time tunnel so that when I was born, like I'm like thinking of this crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, that a fertilized egg, they could send it through a time tunnel so that one is born in this year and one is born in that year. You know, I'm thinking of all this crazy stuff. Or are they the same person that went through this Montauk thing and now they're two timelines? They're the same person, but two timelines, and those timelines have now merged.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder if, like, all of the messing around they did, with Montauk and Philadelphia experiment and so on, if they did create a whole bunch of timelines. I've heard that theory that we're not supposed to have multiple timelines, but we created them and they created lots of problems.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of sorting those problems out, but
Yeah.
we're supposed to converge back into one timeline.
I don't know how they do
as part of the whole Great Awakening, I suppose, the
Well, I
event.
think that's how we got to get it. I remember I saw a quote once because this, in my opinion, goes back to, okay, so Tesla had the, like, maybe he figured it out. He figured out the formula. And then what if what was in those papers that got sent, like, remember George Bush? He was George Scherf, and the papers are supposed to go over to the FBI, and then John G. Trump. What did John G. Trump keep it and give it to the baddies? Did it, like, something happen there that the baddies started using this technology? Okay.
You're talking about Looking Glass?
No, I'm talking about the whole, like, the stuff they were doing with the Montauk and the Philadelphia experiment
Oh,
kind of
right,
stuff.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that
So,
was military industrial complex. So, probably
yeah.
highest
So,
order.
and I'm thinking, did Tesla, like, did they put him under, like, was he the first one out the chute? He may have been the first one out the chute. Like, are all these other guys just duplicates of Tesla? Because Tesla is a germaphobe. Howard Hughes is, and I know that Howard Hughes, like, had clones because he was in like 5 different airplane accidents and he survived them all. Like, how in the heck is that even possible?
Some of
Or
them were pretty bad too.
I know, so I'm like, how does he keep surviving? Well, what if they
Yeah.
just kept making a clone and then having the clone go through the time tunnel to that spot, and then right before he's going to die, they put the clone in and he survives, right? I mean, that I have thought that, and so and then we know that Trump's a time traveler. Well,
And we know that Tesla was fascinated with time travel and likely built,
yeah,
the
yeah,
apparatus to do it. And then, of course, Trump's uncle was the guy charged with disseminating all of Tesla's notes and would have had first crack at any of that technology. And then we have, God, my brain's not working right today. The books, written, the Ingersoll Lockwood books.
oh, right. Well, there you go. That's like
Yeah.
evidence of time travel.
Well, I don't know if we can call it evidence, but probably pretty close.
Oh, Jason Q did this deep dive on time travel years and years ago, and he found this magazine called Spy Magazine, and in the Spy Magazine, and I have since found that magazine. It's on Scribd. If anybody has Scribd, you can find the magazine, and it's proof that Trump time traveled because things were written about the future that hadn't happened yet. So, I'll wait for you to come back.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Did you hear what I was saying about Jason
Oh,
Q? And and he's got it. And I'm like, yes, he was right. Everything pans out. So, and Q has said, like, there's 2 Trumps. There's 2 people born like June 14th, 1946.
I remember him talking about this a long time ago. Jason Q.
Yeah. So is that, could that be the Elvis Trump connection? Are they twins. Let me get back to this thing about, okay, they're born 11 years apart, right? And I do not believe that Fred Trump is his dad. I've seen evidence that it's just not him. It could be Patton, but the mother, like, the mother, what's her name, McLeod. Anyways, what if he, like JFK, were not really born of the bloodline that, like the Kennedys were Illuminati. They're one of the 13 bloodline families. What if JFK technically wasn't born, like he wasn't one of them, but he's trying to turn it around? Like, I feel like Trump could have been the same thing. I mean, this could be a whole nother deep dive on the time travel with Trump and whatnot. But I feel
here's
like
another
right, Fred is
saying,
not his dad, correct?
which is you've said that on numerous occasions.
Yeah. And so I feel like Trump has been trying to save the world. Like, and a lot of it, he might have access to time travel. He is a time traveler. And remember earlier I was saying that demons and angels, like what if the God angel in him is allowing him to do all these incredible things? You get what I'm saying? So
well, Jason Q says that he's a quasar, whatever that means. But
that's right.
he's right.
Oh yeah, from way high above. That's right. I do remember that now. That
I don't understand that enough to even ask Jason questions about it.
I think in essence what it is imagine, okay, we all have heard about 3D and we're supposed to be moving to 5D. Like Trump's on 8D. Like, and in order for you to move up in, like, say, because there's dimensions and then what was the other one? There's let's just say you're moving up a dimension. You have to do something humanitarian. Like, you know what I mean? You have to be outside yourself. You have to be, they want everybody to be giving.
Service to others.
Yeah. And each time that you move up, your assignment gets harder. Like Trump is literally not just saving our realm, but he's like having to go to all these other worlds and save them. Like I've heard that he's that powerful, but he's just moving up his ladder, and Melania too, like to do good things. So
she does not look human to me. I mean, she's people
think she's Palladian.
Yeah, she's quite the spectacle. She's phenomenal. And then of course the product of those two, Baron, my God, he's like 9 feet tall, and
see, Baron to me looks like Elvis. He looks like Balfour. I mean, could he be from the future? Like the future keeps coming back. I mean, could these things? I don't know. It's all the ideas just go crazy.
That's another reason I wanted Matt on tonight, was to talk about the movie Back to the Future. He's quite the collector. He's got some really cool Back to the Future stuff. But I asked him about those movies in relation to Trump, and he said absolutely, and he had a big story to tell about it. So
I mean, people have said that Trump is Biff.
Yeah, which isn't terribly flattering, is it?
I know, but what if Hollywoods are going to always stick it to him? They're going to do it in the movies too, right?
Yeah.
And somebody said, okay, Diana, yeah. And like in Back to the Future, there is such a theme of JFK in that movie. I mean, the plaza is supposed to be like Dealey Plaza. You'll see like JFK bus in the window. They talk about John F. Kennedy Drive. I mean, his name gets brought up. So, I want to tell and show you one more like incredible fact, but I feel like I really need to show you something. Her name was McLeod, was from the outer hybrid into the island. His name.
Yeah, a lot of rumors that he's of the bloodline.
Yeah. And you know how they said the second coming of Christ? Well, what if, they just said Christ, like the mother is was it Mary Christ Trump? Like the name Christ, that is the second time you're going to see Christ. Oh, wait, I think oh my God, I have to show you this. Wait. Okay, I had this big like Trump party, and I went to the store. I kid you not. I was like at the checkout stand. These two magazines were sitting like this.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's funny.
This is the only magazine I've ever seen with Trump on it.
So
And
you
it
had to
just
buy them both.
next to the Jesus magazine.
Yeah.
Like, what? So I had to buy it. And then when my friends came in the door on the desk, I had both of these side by side, and they thought that was awesome. So
Well, I've always been of the opinion that the second coming of Christ is within. That happens individually with us within, but
could be.
Or
there could actually be, like Jesus, like Yeshua.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, did they not say that it is going to be biblical? So I was going to say
they sure have. That puts a whole different spin on it too. That's really interesting. I mean, these times have already been really biblical. I feel like we've been living in Revelations. I was never really a biblical literalist until the last decade, and it's been like, are you kidding me? When the antelopes all dropped dead, and then when the sheep and then all the other animals were doing those circles, and the beaches were full of whales, and the rivers were running red in Russia, and it was just like, people aren't really talking about this, but it sure seemed like Revelations to me. So
it's all good. I think everybody is waiting for, like, we were talking, I was telling you, I'm sensing that people are like, please already get this, like, can we please? But maybe the way they're doing it, and the disclosures that come like once a week, like yesterday being about the time, about the what did they say about dimension? No, time travel. What did Trump say yesterday, or the White House say yesterday about time? It was just yesterday. About time. They brought up time yesterday.
Well, no, that was the comment. I said that they have the ability to manipulate time and space.
Yeah, that's what it was. Manipulate time. Yeah. So,
but I mean, that's a really big statement, and nobody. I mean, I haven't heard anyone talking about it in mainstream. I mean, Clayton had a field day with it on Redacted. I just haven't heard too many people talking about it. That's a monumental announcement that should be rocking people's worlds.
Well, Denise and Scott are talking about it.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, you just get a shoulder shrug out of people with some. I mean, there's, Trump also refused the Israel's Iran war. I thought that was a very interesting thing. The timing of it, in particular, very interesting. Especially when you think about saving Israel for last. I mean, I think things are heating up. I'm reluctant to say some kind of a conclusion. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to really have a conclusion, but where everything kind of is out in the open. Yeah, I don't know when we're going to arrive at that, but Trump did make references to Easter. But then again, there were references last Easter and the Easter before. So that may be a nothing burger as well.
Yeah. And, I had heard that.
Drip, exactly.
What was that?
Oh, Galactic made the comment, drip, drip, drip. That's how we've been. Yeah.
Because April 20th, that's Easter this year. It's also Hitler's birthday. And it's also, I believe, the anniversary of the Act of 1871. What if we're
today?
No, on Sunday, 4/20.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. 4/20. That's a real significant day up here in the Northwest.
Everybody's stoned on Easter.
Yeah, I wonder how that's gonna go over at the family events. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I'm done predicting. You know,
Yeah.
we keep getting dates and dates and dates and dates, and it's supposed to be event driven. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, it's not boring. I mean, it's pretty damned exciting, but what's coinciding with all of this, and no one's talking about this either, is the solar weather has been intense as hell. We had a G4, what was it? A G4, I want to say solar storm. There's another word for it. Anyway, it knocked out all the power in Puerto Rico. And there's a lot of this plasma being ejected from the sun, and depending on the course it takes, and it's that'll tell us about the impact it's going to have. I mean, we could have a Carrington event, we could have a massive EMP, we could have all kinds of things happening. I don't necessarily think it's going to be any of those, but I think it's going to be a rather divine event. I mean, hell, we've been talking about the event for a decade now, but I mean, all the pieces on the board are sure looking like we're kind of there.
yeah. Somebody mentioned the other day that, that, have you seen that list? I think there's like 34 of them on there about all the structures that have to go down. Like the Georgia Guidestones was on there.
Yeah,
And
they were there.
okay, so, and we've kind of like check. Well, there's still quite a number of them on the list yet.
Well, there's that whole 17 events in 17 cities. I wonder how many events are left on that list. Or, I mean, how many artifacts?
People keep talking about the Golden Gate Bridge going down. I mean, that's my neck of the woods. That would be
wow.
But they did a lot of over there.
Because what? It's an apparatus that has a cultic significant, like kind of like what is it? The Hoover Dam has all the craziness at the base of the dam.
Okay. So the Golden Gate Bridge connects San Francisco to Marin, right?
Yeah.
And out in the San Francisco Bay, the bridge is going over the San Francisco Bay, right? In the bay is Alcatraz.
Right.
They were using Alcatraz as like child trafficking going on under there. MK Ultra, the Yellow Brick Road, the largest child trafficking route in the world. It's all connected. Okay, so in the bay, you got Alcatraz. Everybody knows about Alcatraz. And I wonder, did they shut that down so that they could do this crap? So anyways, also in the bay is Treasure Island. Now, I don't know if you've been to San Francisco, but you have the Golden Gate Bridge that goes over and connects to Marin. The other main bridge out of San Francisco is called the Bay Bridge. It connects from San Francisco over to Oakland. And that was the bridge that kind of got whacked during the Loma Prieta earthquake, right? Well, when you take the bridge over from San Francisco over to Oakland, there is part of that bridge, you have to go over a little piece of the Treasure Island. Okay. So on my birthday this last year, I said, let's go to the city because it's only like 30 minutes away. So on our way into the city, I said, I don't even know why. I said, let's go drive around Treasure Island because Treasure Island has the most beautiful view of the city because you're looking back at San Francisco, the whole skyline, right? So we're driving around this island, and all it is an old like military. It's like old military housing. It's kind of run down. I mean, it's not that populated. So we're driving around, and my creep factor in my body was going sky high. And even Vaughn, we were like, whoa. There was one shipping container after another on this island.
Wow.
And then like Vaughn saw a pentagram like on like painted like spray painted. There was this old Catholic Charities like run down. So I looked into that. That was totally connected to child trafficking. And it was just, then I saw this building that was across from all of these shipping containers. There was this building that had this big monarch butterfly on it. And it was like a daycare. And I was like, this is not good. So you got that. Oh, and on it, it said, when we were driving out, I'd never seen this before. It said tsunami, like like if there was a tsunami, you would have to take this like tsunami route. I think that's what it said. So then I look back and it's if you're on Treasure Island, you look straight across Alcatraz and then beyond that, the Golden Gate Bridge. And I thought, you know what? There's all this child trafficking clearly here. Like there's evidence of it all over the place. I mean, and oh, and there was a YMCA, and I saw these little kids getting off the bus. I wanted to go run and say, "Do not go in there," because I just kept thinking, "Are they what's going on here? Why are these kids coming into Treasure Island? Where are they coming from?"
And you saw this happen.
Huh?
What is Treasure Island usually? I mean, it's not residential, right?
Operation Treasure Island's it was an old military base.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not. So there shouldn't be anything going on there, right?
No. And here comes a bunch of kids that are around 10 years old.
When did
I
this
mean,
happen?
literally, this was in the fall. And
Wow.
I and my spidey senses, because I'm really tuned into this stuff, like
Yeah.
I can sense when I'm around evil. It was beyond, I was off the charts. I knew that something bad was happening here. So then we leave there, creeped out on my birthday. We go over to San Francisco, and then I thought, well, hell, let's go over to the Presidio and take some pics because the Presidio, that's where Colonel Michael Aquino is doing all that nasty stuff with the children, the children's daycare.
Yeah.
And that happened there. Okay. I go and I park because now you're in like a really exquisite part of San Francisco. It's the Pacific Heights area. And on the edge of Pacific Heights, then goes the Presidio, which this open space, which is also is ex-military, right? So I parked there to go take pictures. And there's a gate that says the Presidio. I walk inside that gate, and I kid you not, there was crows just circling around there, like something you would see out of Harry Potter. It
Wow.
was creepy. I mean, and the Presidio, the Treasure Island, the Alcatraz, underneath the Golden Gate Bridge is all child trafficking. I've seen the tunnels. One time we drove out on the edge of the Presidio over by Sea Cliff, which is because you have the ocean and then the bay comes off the ocean, right?
Yeah.
If you go to a certain spot, you can see this gorgeous picture of Golden Gate Bridge. You see the ocean, the bay, and the bridge. I was up there taking a picture this one time and I was like, what is that? It was this big old tunnel, like it had bars on it, but it had graffiti. You could just tell that it was some part of a gross like tunnel system. So yeah, so I love San Francisco. I used to live there. I was born there. And then it's like, but do we have to wash all this out to get it cleaned up? I don't know. I don't know what's in store. I really don't. I mean, it's on the list.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Seattle's on that list too. Someone sent Joe and I the list of the 17 cities. So, and Seattle's got a terrible vibe now.
Oh, I've heard that. It's got like a weird, that in Portland.
Yeah. Sadly, it used to be cool. I don't know. Everything has shifted so much. Maybe it's us that have shifted and we can see it more clearly. I don't know. But we're in for it. I'm telling you, this is I mean, hell, it's Easter weekend. I'm wondering how they're gonna follow up this whole statement about we can manipulate time and space. There've been a lot of big, information drops in that way that have just sort of been just real casual, just kind of toss it out there.
Well, they might as well put they can manipulate time and space. Now go to deep dives and TruthStream.
Well, we should probably think about landing the plane. We're at about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to?
Well, obviously, yeah, but you know what? There'll be a part 2 because I do want to share some of this stuff, and there's more to some of these stories.
Oh yeah. Well, we need to do shows a little more often, probably.
Yeah.
I always love them. I really enjoy doing shows with you.
I know, me too. This is always fun.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody again where they can find you.
Okay. So here's the
maybe
place.
a few of them that are not
I've had to write it out now. Deep dives on Telegram, And if you're not on Telegram,
It's a
you can
great
go to
follow. It's just a great follow, you guys. You'll love it.
Rumble. I have a podcast.
I'm
I
so
do
glad
most
you have
of my
that.
stuff on Telegram though, because what I do is I dig down and do research and then present it, like share with you pictures and then write out little presentations. So
Well,
and people,
you got a really cool little community over there too that kind of
yeah.
sleuths with you.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
they are amazing. Yeah, it's a like it's not just me. They provide a lot of information, great moderators, and some of them are deep diggers. And I actually really want you to bring Donovan on because he's a deep researcher and he knows a lot about this stuff. So what do you
Cool.
think
I'd love
about
to.
it? Okay.
Maybe you can join him and we'll do it that way.
Yeah, we'll totally
Yeah.
loop it.
Yeah. And
Okay.
who was the other guest that you said you really want to be on if they come in? Oh, Arkeem Raw.
Oh, oh my gosh, if anybody can Arkham Raw, please.
We'll
I wanna
reach out.
get into that.
I think I know someone that can make that happen. I think we should do a show with him. With you.
You don't even know. He's like right now he's at the top of my list that we need to interview.
I'll work on it this week.
Okay.
Okay. Depending on what the hell's gonna happen this week, it's gonna get wild. Yeah. And we're getting ready for the Costa Rica trip as well. So
Oh yeah. When are you going on that?
End of the month.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Gonna go see Carol. It's gonna be amazing. So yeah, I'm trying to think of any housekeeping. We also have a Telegram. If you guys aren't following it, we announce a lot of shows there because the shadow banning sometimes prevents people from knowing when we're going live. People don't get their notifications. They find themselves unsubscribed. So maybe check and make sure you're still subscribed. And what else? The chat goes away at the end of the show on Rumble. So if you have comments that you'd like to live on, it'd be great if you put them in the comment section. We enjoy reading them, and I'm sure Denise will get a kick out of it as well. Maybe she'll jump in and respond to some of them. But what else? If anyone was wondering where Joe was tonight, he's out on the coast with his family doing the Easter weekend. No, he loves you. Yeah, but
I'm just kidding. I love Joe.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll let him do the show with us if we get our game on.
Yeah, that would be fun. I would be a blast.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and one of these days you got to meet Matt Geiger too. So we'll just have to do another show here real soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Great chat in the audience.
We both get our thumbs.
Yeah, great chat, great feedback, guys. It was a lot of fun. And I'll go ahead and roll the outro.
Okay.
All right. You're gonna stick around for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And here we go. Nope, that's not it. Joe usually does that. Oh, that's so funny. There it is. It has a different...
Slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Hey, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
In a sluggish economy, inflation and recession hits the land of the free. Standing unemployment lines, blame the government for hard times. We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. 10 kids in a Cadillac stand in line for welfare checks. Let's all reach off the state. Gee, the money's really great. We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Soup lines, free loaves of bread, 5-pound blocks of cheese, bags of groceries. Social security has run out on you and me. We do whatever we can. Gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Doobity-doo wop wop, say what, yeah? We just get by however we can. We all gotta duck when the shit hits the fan. Soup lines, free loaves of bread, 5-pound blocks of cheese, bags of groceries. Social security has run out on you and me. We do whatever we can. Gotta duck when the shit hits the fan.
You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest. Well, that's bullshit.
Shut up, rent-a-cop.
All right, the stream has ended.
Okay.
I asked Joe if he wanted to do a raid. He didn't answer, so I guess he wasn't watching. Usually he's creeping. Did you see how the emblem on the Bezos spacesuits there that Katy Perry's wearing? Do you see how it's a total Baphomet?
Oh.
Yeah, there's probably better examples of it, but yeah, it's goat head. It's the whole bit.
These guys are sick, man.
Well, I mean, when your space capsule comes back all white and shiny, did you see what the SpaceX one looked like? I mean, it was burned to shit.
Oh, hang on a second.
I think they faked the whole damn thing.
Oh, of course they did. I never believed that for 1 second. Where's the?
Well, I mean, I think Elon's rig went out into, well, it went somewhere.
I was trying to. Oh wait, let me get this out for here.
They were only in space for 4 minutes, and they were playing with toys. It was really an embarrassment.
No, I hope that people are like, "What? This kind of looks off." I know it was so stupid that I was like, "I'm not even paying attention to this because this is dumb."
They're getting panned so hard, it's just not even funny.
Alexa, homepage.
I like you talk to Google and Alexa.
Yeah, well, because that's how one can get onto these TV is through voice. So that's why we have to have them. Don't look, Swade. Wait, Alexa.
You're exactly right. I mean, when you sign
Whoops,
on to take on these federal dollars.
Alexa, homepage. Weird. Yeah, so this is how one can control the TV. Okay. What in the hell? Oh, here we go.
Screw that up. How does he control the TV?
Through his voice. Oh, there we go.
Is that your old dog?
Okay. Huh?
That picture?
Yeah.
Is that? Oh.
Yeah. He died
Chihuahua?
2 years. He was half Chihuahua. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other, I think he might have had, and then you see my JFK plate up here and little JFK Jr. Isn't that cute?
See, Matt, you would like to meet Matt. He's collected a lot of really interesting JFK stuff.
Yeah, it's a
a-
bummer he didn't come on today.
Yeah, he said something came up. I don't know what it was. We'll see. It could have just been he got a call and it was a big piece of business or something. He's our gold sponsor. He's Lewis's gold sponsor also. Lewis
Oh,
introduced, and he's cool because these gold companies, a lot of them are ripping people off left and right.
oh, wait, was this guy on the Truth Tour? I mean, the Truth Marathon?
Yeah.
Oh,
He bought.
his name sounded so familiar. I'm like, why have I heard this name before?
Yeah, he bought Lewis
Okay,
the
I
second.
saw him on there.
Yeah, he bought that second RV that they used on the last one. He's been really, really great for the Truth Tour, but he's really cool because he doesn't charge nearly what most of the gold people charge, and he's really ethical, and we can feel good about not putting people in a bad situation. Where we tried Goldco for a minute, and we quickly got out because we were getting feedback from people about that they'd been ripped off or family members had been ripped off. It was awful. It was just awful.
Oh, I've heard that. I haven't bought like gold and silver in a long time. But if I did, I mean, no, I bought some a long time ago, a ton.
Good.
That's where I put all my money. Like, a lot
Excellent.
of people did XRP, but we went silver.
Smart. But I mean, XRP also, you can't, I mean, I'm convinced it's going to 10 grand minimum.
XRP?
Yeah.
For one?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
Well, how much is Bitcoin right now? It's over, I don't know, it hit 90 grand.
But I heard that was like baby trafficking coin.
Yeah, well,
hang on, I got it. I got to give this to Vaughn. Keep talking.
Yeah, no problem.
I thought that was baby trafficking coin.
Well, no, I just gave it to you as an example of a coin that went, to almost 100 grand. 10 grand doesn't seem like so much, but their CTO, Schwartz, who cut his teeth at DARPA, he said in order for XRP to perform the way it was designed, it needs to be at a value of at least $10,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they've quietly inserted themselves in banking all over the world. And, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO, has been appointed as our crypto czar here in the United States. So that should tell you something. Brad Garlinghouse is the CEO of Ripple.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
XRP is Ripple. And what are you eating? No snacking. What's going on down here? Dog.
Well, what's your opinion on XRP? I mean, on Bitcoin?
It's antiquated. It doesn't have any utility. I think a lot of people think it's going to go to zero. At one time, I thought it was going to go to zero. I listened to a lot of Raoul Paul. It's been a backstop for a failing fiat dollar for so long. What did you say? No.
I said, did you say RuPaul?
No. Raoul Paul.
Do you know who
totally?
RuPaul is?
Yes, I do. The drag show guy. Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm sorry, I just get punchy.
No, it's all right. Where was I going with that?
About the Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, it was about XRP. The big argument against it, where'd you fit? That's a bar of soap, honey. Do you need something else? What are you doing with soap? Good God. I need to give her a bone or something. Here, you can have one of these. This will keep you busy for hours. She's kind of all consuming when I'm dog sitting this dog.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Did you see my thing?
What's it say?
Wait.
Oh yeah, love it. It's on a pink cup. I love it.
I had the cup and I'm like, well, I might as well.
Yeah, I thought about incorporating that in our TruthStream logo for a hat. Just FAFO.
Oh yeah, that seems to
Yeah.
be a real popular saying right now.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We haven't done
So
merch yet. I don't know if we really will, but we had good numbers tonight. Our
we
numbers
did.
have been our numbers have been terrible, whether it was the shadow ban or whatever. And also, there's this cartel of shows, Badlands, and I'm finding out some not so nice things about Badlands, but they run it like a cartel, and they just dominate all the good slots. You know, we'd always go live at 6. Well, our audience loves News Treason and some of the other shows that are associated with Badlands, and they all raid each other. They all have these agreements, and so they, you know, they're constantly injecting. So they'll have like 5,000-10,000 people watching a show that has fewer followers than we do, and they're much newer channels. You know, they haven't been around for very long, but you know that. And Lewis tells us we're on a list, and someone from the Trump administration told him officially that we're on a list. I mean, Lewis
Trump
is on a list. No,
Trump
not Trump. Not Trump, but someone from that administration assured him that, yeah, we are on a list, and that and that's how TruthStream got on the list also, was our affiliation with Lewis. So that sucks.
What's the
But
deal with Lewis and Juan?
Well, I don't know, but I was just going to finish my thought. So we've been getting like 117 is a typical number.
Okay.
But we'll maybe have 100 people watching or something, which sucks for a show with an audience of our size. And then weird things have been happening. Like, well, we've had more people in the live chat than we have watching, or we've had exactly the same number of people in the chat as watching. And it's like, that doesn't ever happen naturally. So there's something going on. But tonight we had, I don't know, when I looked, it was over 400.
Oh, wow.
Which is, yeah, well, people love you. They love the shows we do.
Well, Juan said, yeah, he saw it get up to 400 something. So that's good.
Cool.
And then, of course, people will go back and watch it later, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it'll do well.
Well, how did you think? I mean, I wish I could have showed some of the stuff, but we got the ideas out there, as crazy as they are.
Yeah, next time remind me, because I think that link I sent you, I think in order for it to work, you got to click it before we start the live. I think that's how that works.
Oh, because I just remember when we were with Kevin, like I would always, there was a button that said share screen. That was weird.
Yeah, Kevin made a lot of things easier.
Yeah.
I miss Kevin. I haven't even heard from Kevin. They're so busy with whatever it is that they're doing. I haven't heard from Guy or Kevin. I sent a message to Guy saying I'm going to need some proof of life, and he didn't respond to that one either. So I don't know what's going on. But they're dealing with some big stuff. So
Okay.
I can see.
Well,
I can see why.
I still think that the topics tonight that I think it was important to talk about the Creative Treaty, because
yeah,
you know, there might have been something that be ending.
That was the highlight of the show, I think, in a lot of ways. And it was the tie-in for all this other stuff. I mean, it really, I'm so glad you pointed that out. That got me kind of really excited.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to, did I tell you already about this little video clip with the Balthor? Like, it totally spun me for a loop, where the guy comes in, like it's like a reenactment of what happened. Like it was in either a movie or something. The guy comes on and he's like, "Hi, my name is Balthor." Da 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 da. And then at one point, he takes his head and he lifts it open, and you can see like software in there.
Yeah, you were talking about that. That
I'm
is
like,
so
what
weird.
the hell? And so
We're-
then I started thinking, well, sheesh, this aligns with the clone, you know, about how they were making clones and stuff. And so then I thought, was this what Val Thor was? And then I found this thing. It said that Val Thor had 33 children.
What?
And
Interesting
2 of them
number.
were twins. And then I saw something that had to do with the Vatican. Like the Vatican were behind the creation of Val Thor. I'm like, what in the hell? What if that's true? I hope
don't know.
not.
Where's the best place for me? So there's actual video of this guy.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me send it to you here.
Yeah, I gotta bone up on that. That's something I don't know about, and I really should. I think I got a little sunburn today.
Oh, we are on the sun. Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
send it. Wait, where am I supposed to send this to?
Just
Do you have a Telegram?
You can just send it to my text the way you send me other stuff.
Okay, let's see if that works.
Yeah, I don't know why it
Wait, let
wouldn't.
me just do the TikTok. Hang on. Copy link. Okay, I'm gonna send it to you. Okay. Okay, I just sent it to you. Now watch
Cool.
this thing.
My phone is the camera, but I'll see if it shows up here. Yep, it's there. Cool.
You want it just quick? It's only a couple minutes.
Oh, sure.
Hi. No, I'm done with the show, but now I'm just.
Oh, hi. How's it going? Were you watching the game?
Yeah.
Just started on the show.
Huh. How you feeling?
Good.
Good. How was your show?
Good.
What happened to the ball?
Oh, the other parts on the right fell. That was yours, right?
I think we knew that.
Yeah.
What am I watching?
I'm like, I'm telling you.
Can me and Cole come in here and watch the game for a little bit?
Can you wait till I'm done?
Oh, okay.
I'm still talking to this
Oh,
guy.
I thought you were done.
No, I'm talking to the host.
Oh.
Do you need to go? I don't mean to keep you.
Just wait, finish. Give me 5 minutes.
Okay.
What? Oh, there's the. Whoa. But this is from a movie, right?
I know, but what message are they trying to send?
That he was a robot.
Right?
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
But
we have
that
to
doesn't.
consider.
Why would he have 6 fingers and all these strange anomalies? I mean, like, it sounds like
Well,
organic.
no fingerprints. Do clones have fingerprints? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's just something weird about the whole Val Thor thing. And then when I saw that he was connected to the Vatican, I'm like, I don't know about this story. Everybody's clinging like it's a feel-good story about Val Thor that he came in peace. But again, if we're talking, like, I keep going back to that Montauk, them making clones and coming back and doing weird things, and we have those that are of the light that did their thing, and then yeah, I don't know.
But didn't you say that there's video of the actual Val Thor?
No, there's not.
Oh, okay.
Oh well, no, there's pictures, but he looks like Elvis, and
Yeah.
he came in wearing a gold suit just like Elvis did. So I'm like, what if Val Thor is Elvis he's a clone of Elvis? That was one thing I said tonight.
Wow.
I mean, don't you think that's a possibility? And quite honestly, who's to say that Trump and Elvis aren't like is Elvis the clone of Trump? Do you want to hear a fun fact that I almost told tonight, but we got sidetracked? Okay, they were 11 years apart. If you go back and look at the day that Elvis was born, and then when Trump was born, it's 11 years, but the amount of days, it's like it's equal. Like when you look at when the 9/11 towers were built, and when one was built and finished, and then the other one was finished, it's the same exact day that Elvis and Trump, their birthday. Like, you cannot tell me that that's not